Hello, hello, hello. And let me just switch this over. Alright. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Game Dev Podcast with myself, Supervin47, my co-host, Eniko.
Hello.
And our guest for this episode is Eric Hermit.
Hi.
Yes, it started John E. Turnbull. And Robot, we were totally on the hour. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm still going to call Eric Eric.
Yeah, that's my last name isn't actually Hermit, it's actually Hornby. It's just like my internet moniker, so.
It's
generally I just go by Eric though.
Cool.
Yeah, but we had too many Erics in one of the game development chats, so he's now Eric. Eric. I can't even do it. I'm just messing it up. Just never mind.
Well, luckily I'm the only one here right now, so.
Okay, so what have you, we'll start with the guest, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes. Eric, what have you been working on recently?
Well done.
So, I guess immediately recently I have, and it's actually been pretty recently, I just kind of like suddenly started making a pixel platformer, which I guess is, a bit like, I know that's like a common thing for a lot of indies, and maybe like coming right out of Earth Tongue, people might have been expecting something a bit more experimental, but I'm excited because I think I can make a extremely pretty game, because I feel like I've been really happy with my art lately. So that's been what I've been working on immediately lately. Although I've also been working on some changes to Earth Tongue to add like where people can add their own, enable modding for it to a degree, so that people can make their own like world sets and stuff.
Cool. Okay. Let me see if I can't put on a quick image of. Hang on. I need to move F. Yeah. I'll keep this here. I'm just gonna put on the image of your platformer. You posted a GIF, I think, of it.
Oh, I've been posting a bunch of GIFs, so I think you can grab one of any of those.
Okay. Yeah. Keep talking. I'm just working in the background.
You can maybe talk about what Earth Tongue is for those of the people watching who aren't aware.
That's probably a good idea. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Earth Tongue, if you're not aware, I guess is kind of currently my claim to people knowing me. Is it's like a kind of like miniature terrarium simulator game. It's like you take care of this tiny little ecosystem that kind of mostly runs on its own, and you only get to subtly change it. And in it you raise like different bugs and fungus and stuff, and it all grows on a tiny little planet. And what you're seeing right here is Tiny Witch, not Earth Tongue. But oh no, what was that? Oh shit, I just lost track of time for a second there. Yeah, and so the way Earth Tongue works is that it's like it's very much a game that is kind of one that it's meant to be able to run in the background, or one that you can watch as much as play. And I've been told by a lot of people that it's a extremely relaxing and soothing game for them to play.
All right. I'm trying to find the trailer that Mari did for Earth Tongue.
I can grab that real quick.
Oh, please do.
Yeah.
He's talking about Geek Remix Mari, right?
Yes.
Should I just post that into the Twitch chat, or?
Oh yeah, you can post it in the Twitch chat.
Oh no, I've got to log in. I can't believe I'm not already logged in. Okay.
Oh.
A rookie mistake.
There we go. I'm in now. Yeah, so there's the trailer for Earth Tongue, which is technically my previous project, but is also my currently only complete game that I kind of want to advertise.
All right. Let me just hit this up, and all right, I'm gonna need you to work with me. Silence. Shh. Quiet in the movie set.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep my mic muted to not, have so much TV background noise.
Okay, here it is, the trailer.
Yours to cultivate.
And Twitch delay.
Find
So
a
let's
balance
just keep
and
talking,
complete
maybe?
The circle of life.
Oh, there it goes.
There it goes. Yeah.
Discover, learn, grow.
And you were... When was that? You were at PAX with Garrett
Life will
and
Yeah.
flourish at a
Eric?
touch, or
Yeah,
die
that,
out
that's
Other
of
that,
Eric.
neglect.
yeah, with Eric Ford. I went to PAX with them. Garrett was like super nice enough to like do his whole like table splitting thing with a bunch of people, and yeah, that was really fun. I don't actually remember when that was though. I think that was like it was quite a while ago now.
That's when Earth Tongue really got going, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was around then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I tried playing Earth Tongue, and it reminds me a lot of these like nature expedition type things that
Yeah.
grade school students and I guess even sometimes I did it once in the Scouts. So I was a Boy Scout, and we used to go on nature expeditions, and I don't know, just pick up random stuff,
Yeah.
bring it back to the Scoutmaster, and he'd say like, "Oh, this is that thing."
Mhm.
I was like 8 years old at the time though, but I'd pick up like random rocks, and I think one time I picked up, it was either a snail or a rock that looked like a snail, and I brought it back to him. I don't know. That's basically what Earth Tongue reminds me of, because I was playing it a little bit, and
Yeah.
I took a note of the research journal.
Yeah. So that's so I think your feelings on that are not like they're not completely coincidental actually, because one of the major inspirations for Earth Tongue, aside from kind of like the feeling of having a a terrarium, is the feeling of being an ecologist and doing field work. So when you get into the game, you're kind of intentionally not given any information on what the creatures are and what they do, right? So when you add a new beetle in or whatever, like you don't actually know what it wants to eat and or anything like that. And you have to, and the act of you kind of observing it and discovering is what is going to like enable you to actually kind of influence the world to make a self-sustainable ecosystem. And I wanted that to feel kind of like doing field work as an ecologist, where you spend a lot of time intelligently observing creatures and their behavior to try to figure out, to learn things about them. And yeah, so the research journal you discovered is kind of written like a scientist's journal. But something funny about that is that it's the information that is in the journal doesn't get unlocked until oh dear, well that's fixed in the newer version. Anyway, that weird title screen overlay thing. What was I saying? So the research journal, it only adds information about the species you're dealing with after you've kept that species alive for a long time, meaning that you as a person have probably already discovered the information that's in the journal like on your own.
Mm-hmm. I'm just playing it in the background. Please keep talking.
Cool. Well, I mean, okay. Well, I guess that's the end of that topic for then. I guess mostly I made it because I was like a little upset that I didn't become an ecologist, and like I didn't want to do that enough to go back to school, because well that's quite an undertaking, and I mean I still want to make games. So the closest things is to make a little world where I could be an ecologist and also take care of these creatures.
I think this almost, I would say almost, it's like a computer model. After a fashion of ecology. Like, this is fascinating.
Mm-hmm. I tried to base it on real like ecology concepts, right? Like one important thing I think is like one of the first things you'll learn is that like a population of herbivores will, if there's nothing to like prey on them, they'll just overproduce and eat all their food and then die. Which is, a real thing that happens in real life.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. But I gotta say, like, I gotta ask, what is the like significance of the huge planets in the background?
Well, they're decorative.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, the game takes place on a tiny, tiny little planet, right? And you're just kind of floating around in outer space. So those just happen to be large planets in the distance. The big blue thing is ostensibly the moon, and the purple thing in the background is a gas giant off in the distance.
Okay, I was wondering if there was some sort of gravitational play put into this because you're so close to three huge space objects.
Yeah, and I guess if you were to look at this kind of realistically, I think it'd be pretty obvious that the planet you're on is actually technically a moon of whatever that gas giant is in the background. Not that that's that doesn't actually come into play, but if you wanted to try to think about it, that would be the case. Yeah, there's the research journal also kind of tells a story in a kind of subtle way. It's not until it gets really deep in the regular entries, which kind of start off just as tutorials, that it kind of starts to talk about maybe what the setting is a little bit and what's actually going on.
Okay.
So to me, I wonder if this is like, that was my first thought. It's like, is this an asteroid? But it's not. It's a moon, which is kind of the same thing.
It's they're both satellites.
Yeah.
Apparently, we're playing Dynasty Warriors 8.
What?
It looks different than I
instead of
remember.
a gaming
What?
podcast.
You best! Vin, what are you doing? This is what, episode 9, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Vin, you asshole. What are you doing?
Our host people.
Alright. Blah, blah, blah.
So I notice a lot of mushrooms. And not a lot of bugs.
So, well, I guess he hasn't, I guess he just hasn't brought them in yet. There's generally a population of beetles that you automatically start with, but
yeah, there are.
I don't know where they're
at.
There's
this thing.
They're all dead.
They're not dead yet. I haven't killed anything. Oh god, I'm getting flashbacks to my fish.
So at the moment the game's got this is like the environment, right? And like this kind of planet with mushrooms and mold and stuff. But one of the things that I guess is going to be nice with the modules update I'm adding in, which is I guess done. I just am kind of like running it by people to see if they have any to see if like friends have any critique on the process of modding before I like actually put it into Steamworks and stuff. Is that you'll be able to make like completely different stuff. Like the example mode I made for modules is I made a different world that actually just takes place in like a weird Halloween land where like you raise ghosts and they eat candy corn and stuff instead of what's going on there.
Oh, you can pick up individual spores.
I'm gonna place a GIF link here.
Oh, hit it. I think if you place any GIF links. Oh, okay. All right.
I don't know if I was able to post a YouTube link, so it looks like I'm
allowed
to post links, I guess, or maybe they just don't show up for other people.
No, they do.
Okay, cool.
I'm magical. All right. Let's.
And I have some of my other. So like the way the ecosystem works here is actually kind of based on the bottom of the ocean, even though like it doesn't look like the bottom of it at all. Like, do you see the little white dots that are flying out of the sky? They're just kind of like little units of nutrient that slowly fertilize the soil.
Oh, they're like particulates.
Yeah. So on the bottom of the ocean, that's just everything is dead above you and slowly floats down. But here it's just kind of this initially inexplicable fall of nutrient that stuff needs to grow.
Eric, have you ever heard of the vampire squid?
I have.
You have. So
I
you
think
know.
it's a cool feature.
Yeah. Right? So when you say particulates, like that's the first thing that comes to mind. The vampire squid. Eniko, do you know what the vampire squid is?
I have no idea, but it sounds awesome.
It is Well, Eric, you know about it, right? So give us a.
Well, I guess I don't actually know anything about its behavior. Now that I think about it, I've seen a lot of pictures of it.
Okay.
I know it lives in the abyss, though.
It does. It does live in the abyss. I'm gonna snag a picture of it.
Go for it.
Please explain this. Please explain the squid. I will do that very soonly. Okay. So basically, the vampire squid is a creature that lives in the abyss, which is a very, very deep, very scary, type of area. But because of the way that it looks like frightening. It looks fearsome. It's like blood red. It's got these little spines coming out of its tentacles. It looks almost demonic in a sort of way. There you go. Here's the vampire squid. Alright, in the upper right hand corner, right under current topics. That's a vampire squid. And the vampire squid looks evil. It looks like just awful. And when early explorers discovered it, like they discovered its corpse or something because it drifted up out of the abyss. They were like, what the hell is that thing? It looks evil. It's the devil. So they called it the vampire squid. But in actuality, those spiny barbs are actually little tendrils that collect particulate matter to feed on.
So it's just a big net. It's not really a predator at all. It just yanks gross stuff out of the water.
Yep. It is not a predator, it's a scavenger. It lives in the abyss where like small animal particulates and skin and dead matter.
There's just like a snow of dead flesh falling from the sky down there.
Yeah.
It lives in the abyss?
It lives in the abyss.
Does it
It's
sleep?
the deepest reaches of the ocean.
Does it sleep under the sea where even with time death may die?
Oh yeah, no,
Bad
don't.
at quoting Cthulhu.
They're cricket buddies actually. They play cricket together.
No wonder that the whole Cthulhu mythos decided, oh, the ocean is totally going to be a hellscape where all the horrible things live.
The ocean's kind of like space in the regard of it's like really big and dark and scary, and
we have no idea what's going on in there.
Yeah,
At all. And anything that comes out, it's like it looks like that. Anglerfish, vampires, squids. But the vampire squid actually it's a net. It collects all the dead matter. It's a janitor. It's like we call it a vampire squid because it's blood red. It has what looks to be tiny poisonous barbs, and it looks like it's a face sucker, right? From Alien. But it's a janitor. It's like, hey, I'm just trying to do my job and keep the ocean clean. Why
It's actually something I'm actually kind of I think fairly passionate about. Is this I think something you're kind of hinting at here, which is like kind of like scary and bizarre creatures not being evil, right? I think that we're kind of like, for example, I think I love bugs. I think anybody who knows me knows that I'm just like I love the heck out of bugs.
Yes.
And part of also what I love about bugs is that they're a little bit bizarre. They're a little bit weird, and they also kind of have a bad rap. Everybody thinks they're gross or scary, or like there's all, like if you make it, most spider jokes on the internet, you've got some kind of like, oh, kill it with fire jokes sitting around on it, right? And if you stop to like examine these things that you think are gross and scary and weird in a kind of like more wondrous attitude, then I think you can find that they're actually beautiful.
Quite true.
Could I not? I'm quite firmly in the kill it with fire camp.
Well, if you don't want to, you don't have to, but I thoroughly recommend it.
Ooh, this is fascinating. So, spiders, what do you think?
All of them.
They're fire.
They're tiny little baby, not baby. They're tiny little buggy artists who make little sculptures out of silk, and they catch the bugs that I don't like that bother me, like flies that make my food dirty, or
Just
mosquitoes.
nuke it from orbit. It's the only way to be sure.
Oh, you're gonna enjoy having a bunch of mosquitoes and flies around, I hope.
No, I hate those two. They're wasps.
Wasps.
And
Wasps also
centipedes.
get a
Oh
bad
god,
rap.
I hate centipedes.
They're not just evil bees.
Apparently, chat. John is like, kill them all, no mercy.
I had to Google image search centipedes to do the pixel art for the mortipede in mid-boss.
Yeah.
It was the worst day.
How is
It was not good. But the pixel art came out really nice.
That's good.
it? Did the mortipede looks horrifying and great.
I'll never sleep again. Yeah, the upgraded version of the mortipede, I'm probably gonna add like a human skull to it or something. Like
That's what
really
it's kind of like
freaky.
a helmet or something.
Yeah,
That's cool.
and like bone ridges and stuff. I don't know.
You know,
The whole second batch of mobs and mid bosses like a secret because the developer doesn't have a clue.
huh? Oh.
I know
Okay.
there's gonna be a second batch, but I don't know what they're gonna be like.
So I wonder if we could get John to play Earth Tongue, right?
Well, I think even people who hate bugs can enjoy it because they're all kind of like, you know, pixely and small enough, and they're all kind of drawn kind of cutesy. I don't think they should creep anyone out.
I don't think this is bad. I could play this, but my problem with spiders is like the big black ones. Like you're sitting at night and you're sitting at your computer, and from behind your monitor, like this huge spider just crawls out. And it's like if they didn't do that, if they just stayed the hell away from me, then I'm fine. But yeah, when they attack me in the night, that's not so fine. Okay, they're not attacking me, but you know what I mean.
If they happen to walk near me in the night. Oh, Vin, something you might want to do is you might want to see. You see below your like little analytics panel there, age, nutrient, biomass, stuff like that. There's like these 3 arrows. You might want to jam the speed up a little bit because
I see.
it could move a little bit slowly at first.
Oh, that is fascinating.
Yeah, and then you'll also have more points to play with.
Ooh.
Oh, and so another interesting thing I guess about my game is that like if you don't want to buy it with money, you can actually just buy it with art. I have a like a program where anybody who spends 30 minutes making any sort of fan creation inspired by it and has the name incorporated in some way, ideally posts it on social media somewhere, I give them a free key. Otherwise it's $5.
Now that's fascinating. That's a fascinating way to sort of market your game in sort of a way. Eniko, do you have any quick thoughts or anything before I, ask Eric how his experience has been with that?
I don't know.
No. Okay. So Eric, how's your experience been with the fan art for game things?
So the fan art for game thing has been I think utterly wondrous. I first of all, I don't think it has reduced the amount of money I've made from the game at all. Because the like the goodwill and the advertisement, I guess, kind of through it has like more than paid off. But like even like okay, so like and then I guess if we were to try to like step away from the kind of robot-y business side of it, it's been like extremely satisfying and inspirational to see these drawings people have made inspired by my stuff. Like aside from like really great artists making really cool stuff, I've gotten like crayon drawings by children. And
Wow.
how often do you get that, right? That's heartwarming, straight up. Yeah, it's just I don't know, it's amazing. I have a small gallery. It's not fully it doesn't include everything, but this page here has a number of art people have done inspired by the game. Something that's kind of cool is that a lot of people who made art also bought the game. They just were just so excited by the idea of like that this exists that they just wanted to do both. So what I do in that case, I give them a key and tell them that they should gift it to someone who they think might enjoy it. But
I just love the feel of this game. But like I said earlier, it reminds me of my my fish tank that I had as a child.
yeah, that's another thing. I think the two things that you are being reminded of are very much inspirational elements.
So I also like. It says down here, "Oh no, there was a drought." It also reminds me of how I almost killed all my fish.
Well, yeah, and you probably will kill a lot of your life as a what like um, nature god or whatever it is that you presume yourself to be.
Mm.
Um, uh, Most people, I think, come to me after playing the game for a short while and they say, "Oh no, I'm really bad at this, and I killed all my fungus and animals and stuff." But like, extinction is a part of life, and it's not really a game you can also really lose. So I
Is
don't
it a
think it's
game you
possible
can
to do
win?
that.
Because I was actually just wondering that. Like,
It is and it isn't. So if you click on the research journal and scroll down to some of those entries at the way bottom left, um, they've got some pretty harsh requirements to unlock, and those are like kind of like um, background lore secrets to the game, and that's kind of when it starts to actually get a bit like you kind of figure out what's going on rather than just that you're this invisible player avatar. Um, so stuff like this right here, this is the hardest. This is the hardest entry to unlock in the entire game, and I think unlocking this kind of counts as quote unquote beating it. And what it requires you to do is have every single species that exists in the game alive at the exact same time, which is extremely difficult and requires a like very active approach and targeted strategy to do so.
You would have to be God.
so
You'd have to be
you
great.
have to catch them all.
Yeah. There's another one that's more closer to catch 'em all actually. That's just like unlock every single individual species research journal, which is I guess not as hard because you can focus on them one at a time instead and such. But the thing is that kind of like this is kind of that's a win state that's kind of in the game, right? But like there's not really that much that pushes you into it, right? Like I don't have some kind of flashing level up bar or the like. It's meant to be something that you kind of enjoy at your own pace and you go as far as you want and or you don't. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The fact that it's just kind of a thing that you watch is the primary game stuff, and this kind of like progression elements of like I guess they're kind of like achievements are really on the side. But also I know a lot of people that's important, and I think that like text and information is probably the best reward you can get for something like that. There are achievements in the game, and they're the research journals. When you unlock journal entries, you get an achievement for it on Steam, and each one has an achievement.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because I'm looking at the research journal, and it looks like both a lexicon / repository of information, and it sort of unlocks like achievements.
Yeah.
Like entry 8 will be unlocked upon reaching X amount of time in the living world, or I don't know. I guess just exploring these journals. Wait.
Yeah.
This journal entry will be written upon maintaining the existence of this species in a world for 5,000 age. So that in and of itself sounds like an achievement. For example, I've killed the rhino beetle twice.
If you don't, the thing is, if you don't really understand how they work yet, you're not going to be able to keep them alive for 5,000 all that easily. Because you won't really know how they work. Although I will say, a lot of times too, you'll unlock a whole lot of those just incidentally because they do try their best to live, and they don't all need your guiding hand. A lot of times, like if the wasp just randomly arrives and you happen to have a lot of prey for it to eat, you're not going to have a problem with the wasp. It's going to live. You didn't even have to worry about it.
Oh shit! It just
But
died.
you have to keep wasps alive.
Well, they've got to eat stuff, right? If they don't have any
Eric,
prey
don't
to eat,
jinx me!
That wasp needs to eat. It wants to eat prey. So you're grabbing these wasps. There's nothing for them to eat. They can't eat fungus, so they're just going to die.
You went extinct. So sad.
Why do I keep drowning people?
Drowning people. You drowned all the wasps.
I just want you to live.
Something I've been considering to do is so one of the nice things with the way Earth Tongue is built is that it's like, I guess I don't know what's quite the word for it, but it's kind of one of those games that's done at almost all levels of development past a certain point, right? So like Earth Tongue's done, right? Like it's been done for a long time, and even as done, I released a new content pack several months after that just added 6 more species to the world, right? And I can pretty much always do that, and it just makes it better usually. And I think one thing ideally I'd like to eventually do is have a bunch of different worlds you can visit, like with different ecosystem styles as well. Like one based on tidal pool ecology instead, where like a water level rises and then like goes away and comes back, and that's kind of the way nutrient gets delivered via like plankton. That stuff filters in, and then when they die, they fertilize the soil and stuff like that, or like I don't know, just kind of inspired by different real life weird ecology settings. Because right now it's kind of based on the bottom of the ocean, which is a unique setting of ecology, right? And there's a lot of unique niches in the world that have kind of like tiny little rules for ecology that are a little bit different than I guess just what you'd see in a normal forest, which is basically just that sunlight feeds it.
Okay, cool.
That's all a baby though, because I have a lot on my plate, and but the nice thing is that Earthlings is always something I can come back to, and it's something I kind of always plan to fiddle with indefinitely until I just can't stand it anymore, I guess.
So there's going to be like continual support for the game in a sort of way, or are you just tinkering with new ideas?
Oh well, I mean, I mean, like there already is as far as like with the modules update, right? Like that I was speaking about earlier, where people can make their own like world sets with like different species and different like your graphics and the like. So like that, and that's something that should be coming out soonish, I guess. I gotta figure out how to wire it into Steam, and I haven't looked at that yet. So that's either a easy job and I do it in 2 days, or it's a hard job and I do it in a month. But that's something I want to do soon, and like I have to kind of balance it with the Dream Sweeper, which is the other game I would like to do, the pixel platform.
Yeah, so tell us about the new game while Finn sets the title for the stream again, because it's still Romance of the Three Bacons.
Why is it still... Wait, hang on. That should have been changed like a long time ago.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why it's...
Why? It's... I hit done. I'm not gonna kill it. I'm not gonna... Don't jinx me. I don't know why this is...
So tell us about the new game that you're making.
So currently the game, I think that I guess the name's kind of in it's muddled around my head. I've been just calling it Tiny Witch online, but truthfully that's not a great game. I'm probably great name to stick with. I'm probably going to go with Dream Sweeper, and in it you're you're this little witch, and it's kind of heavily inspired by Kirby. In the very focused color design in all the like pictures I've shown here, the background is just this kind of like empty blackness, because it's just like a test room. But I plan on having a big focus on that. I'm gonna get one with a background because I think it looks nice. But
please do.
The idea is that you're you're this tiny witch, and you kind of exist in the world of dreams, and your job is to go kill nightmares, clean up people's dreams, make them not have bad ones. So that's aesthetically very related to
Kirby. That's some very nice art.
Starry, kind of pretty shiny stuff. I probably won't use the color green literally anywhere in it. One of my least favorite like platformer tropes is level 1 starts in a green forest, right? Like no, and like only the last level is this kind of like weird spacey starry like cosmic mist. Well, like what if I just start you off in the weird spacey cosmic mist and like keep that
just
going.
Stay there.
Yeah, right. Like, or if I do a forest, right? Like I'll do an autumn forest or something. Like it's got to be different. It's got to be visually yeah, or something, right? It's got to be visually striking, and I want it to look different and unique. And I think there's also kind of a gameplay element that I'm being very inspired by Kirby in that it. I think in most games, right? Like you kind of have your weapon at all times, which is like your sword or your shovel or your jump on their heads kind of thing. But I think one thing I want to do is, so she's got this broom, right? She can swing it around, and if she hits an enemy with it, it charges her broom, and it gets energied up, and she can spend that charge to like shoot an attack out, which means that you want to use enemies to hurt any other enemies. But it's not just shooting out a star that you can do with that energy. You can also do like any different spell that's in the game. So another one might be like a super jump that shoots you up in the air with your spell magic. And like one way that I would use that, for example, is there's a whole bunch of monsters that are flying over a pit, and the way to cross the pit is that you have to hit them, get their energy to do another jump, to jump to another one, to hit them, to jump, and so on. So this is all like I started this like extremely recently though. This is like I was on vacation for a month, so I would say I've basically been working on this for less than a month. It's just in its exceptional early stages, but I'm still excited about it.
So I remember the witch having someone or something following her in some of the gifs.
That's correct. She has a she has a beetle familiar, which is this little blue insect that flies around after her, which is kind of, I guess, my logo in a way now. It's the same kind of looking beetle as the one in it's the same kind of looking beetle as the one in Earth Tongue, but like not a little thing that crawls on the ground. I guess here's one of her
So
standing.
you've linked your universes. It's like one big.
It's not. They don't take place in the same world. Earth Tongue canonically takes place in the quote unquote real world. And Tiny Witch is gonna, it's in this weird spacey thing where dreams are magic and stuff. It's just I think, thematic element that I like. And yes, I have a thing with bugs. I love the heck out of bugs. Bugs are my favorite. They're great, and I'm hopefully going to incorporate them in some way to literally everything I make.
I have no problem with bugs. It's Eniko that has a problem with bugs.
At least cute pixel ones.
I have a problem with many things.
There we
But
go.
look at her little friend there. Did you see the other GIF with her standing with next to it? Look how cute he is. You could not possibly fault him for being a good friend.
I'm showing the GIF right now of you having fun in the test room. Showing a bit of combat, there's a little bug thingy.
Oh yeah, there's you can see him floating around after her, and you can also see a bit of like him. She kills one of the little nightmare crabs and then fires a star out.
So you got something against crabs, or?
No, it's just a convenient monster that walks sideways. Yeah.
Okay. That's a very smooth animation, actually.
I think in a lot of cases, as far as like a game goes, in a month I could have been a lot farther on it. But I've spent a long time obsessing over making the movement feel weird. And I think actually a lot of that's showcased here. You'll notice that there's this like jump she does with like stars. If you jump and then like hold down to fast fall and then jump directly after landing, you'll jump super high. And if you like hold jump while in the air, you'll hover. And if you so I think there's a lot more to it than just like run and double jump as far as movement options. And I think one thing that's always kind of bothered me in a lot of platformer games is this feeling of somewhat stiff controls as opposed to kind of like fluid full control. I can move everywhere. And I want the game to feel very much like you are like the controls just got to feel good, and you've got to be able to pretty much like move exactly how you'd like to do so. I'm also hoping it's kind of a game that when people watch, because I think a lot of games with controls like this, when people watch, they say, "Oh wow, you look like really skilled at this," but like you're just mediocre, or just recently started. Like there's a cool way to make it so that's how it goes. And I think having really smooth and forgiving controls is one way to do that.
So you're totally killing these creatures, right?
No, actually, they're just getting banished back to the Nightmare Realm. They're not necessarily evil. Most of them are just not smart enough to be evil. Like, they just want to. They got to go to dreams to eat. That's how nightmares work. And Tiny Witch just got to send them back because they're making people unhappy. Like those crabs, they fill dreams with like weird, gross footstep sounds, and they kind of just generally twist it and make it upsetting, right? But they're not malicious. They're
hungry.
So, yeah, they're just hungry. They're just creatures. They just happen to be supernatural creatures that are not great for humans to deal with. So, but when she banishes them with her broom, she gets charged with a lot of the dream energy that they've eaten, which is why she gets magic up on her broom. And they go back to the Nightmare Realm to try to find a way to get back into a dream later.
I'm actually I find it interesting how many parallels there are between this game and a game that I have in mind to do when I'm not doing like 3 other things.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Have you seen the picture of the Kitsune game that I posted on Twitter?
I saw the picture. It looks great.
I'm gonna post a link in the chat.
If I recall, it also uses a good amount of purple in it, which is my favorite.
Yes,
I like
purple is my favorite color.
I think we can notice that just by looking at both of your profile pictures. You both have purple hair.
Yep.
It's just that Eniko's is a shade lighter, but you both have very obviously purple hair.
So
Mine
if you can
recently
put
turned
that
white 'cause of the
picture
sun.
on Finn,
It's
it's a good segue in me talking about what I'm doing or what I'm not
Wait a
doing
second. Does she
currently.
have a butterfly that follows her around?
Yes.
What the heck?
She has a familiar. She has a talking like magical butterfly familiar.
all right. Hang on, I'm on it.
Wow.
And I was thinking I wanted to make a Kirby type game where it's not like all about killing stuff and violence, but it's more like about more peaceful violence, like eating people and then spitting them out again, but
Yeah, like,
not.
you're still getting the action elements of a game where you kill stuff, but like it's also kind of got the feel good elements of a fun romp where you don't. I don't, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to make something like cheerful and like bright colors and well, I mean they're not that bright actually. It's a lot of pastels. But
Yeah.
I think it's kind of soothing.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, definitely.
And so I find this very amusing because you have this. She's a kitsune, so she's one of Inari's messengers,
Uh-huh.
and she's a very young one because kitsunes have 1 through 9 tails, and they gain more tails as they become older and wiser and more powerful.
Oh, are you gonna get more during the course of the game?
Maybe I haven't quite decided that one
Okay.
yet. But yeah, I haven't really figured out all the stuff in my head. But basically, the butterfly is like a magical creature who is kind of like her Navi,
Uh-huh.
Oh,
and
please.
she gets sent on. She doesn't. The
don't have to be
butterfly doesn't
important.
say, "Hey, listen."
Yeah.
Okay.
They can be just your good friend. Who's,
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, and then she gets. She literally gets to send a message for Inari because I was like, "Hey, Kitsune are Inari's messengers," so I'm going to totally take that literally. And then you have to go through this quest, like exploring the environment and doing a sort of Metroidvania type thing where you have to find and unlock new abilities to get to new areas. And it's mostly non-violent. And that's an idea I had for a game, but I'm already making 3 games. Oh, and the even better part is, I was like, I'm gonna do this in QBasic because I'm a bloody idiot.
What's QBasic?
Wow, am I that old? Did you ever use DOS?
Yeah, I have.
Okay, you never used QBasic?
No.
It's like BASIC. It's a programming language. QBasic is like an interpreter for it.
Eniko, you have to understand, when MS-DOS came out, I was like 4 or 5.
Yeah, okay, so I am old. Thank you.
So, so I've never used, if I was able to use a programming language at the age of 4 or 5, I'm pretty sure I'd be a lot richer than I am now.
I'm actually super excited about this thing, even though I can't actually work on it right now.
Just
'Cause I
make sure
don't have the time.
you tuck all the ideas into a notepad so you can reference them later.
Oh yeah, I'm doing that. But
Oh
yeah,
man.
like this
Ooh.
idea, I got this. Can
Yeah.
I talk about how I got this idea?
Go
Yeah,
for it.
go for it.
Okay, because both of you sounded like you had something to say.
That's okay. Go for it.
So I do a YouTube channel now.
Yes, you do. Drop the
I
link.
should totally link that in the chat. Oh my god. I am a professional YouTube media personality, game dev person. Totally. So I do that now, and I was thinking about doing a Patreon. And I was like, well, what can I do as a goal for a Patreon? Because a Patreon without goals is kind of eh. And I decided, well, I could do a back to basic video series where I try and make like a modernish type game in QBasic. And for those of you who don't know, QBasic is a very old DOS language, and it gave you like 64 kilobytes of memory to work with. And the graphical capabilities are basically non-existent and slow and awful. And I've been researching all these DOS things to find ways around them, like using extended memory and like finding free memory in the DOS range, which is like 640 kilobytes and stuff.
Seriously, damn.
Yeah,
Yikes.
because there's one workaround that you can do. in DOS, you can use assembly to talk to the operating system and get it to do all sorts of things. But you have to use assembly. Except if you write assembly code that talks to the right interrupts, and interrupt is basically asking the operating system to do something, then you can compile the assembly into machine code. Then you can make a string that contains that machine code inside of QBasic and tell QBasic to run that machine code. And I'm in the spirit of the challenge, I'm viewing that as a valid method of using QBasic to do stuff that QBasic can't do. So then I was like, okay, I have all this knowledge about QBasic now, and I have absolutely no idea about how to make a game, like what kind of game to make. So I came up with this, and I was very inspired, and I pixeled this in like 5 hours. But yeah, this is going to be once me and my team, because that's the other thing I've been doing. Once we finish Ultra Hat Dimension and release that commercially, that's when I'm going to put up the Patreon, and hopefully I'll reach the goal where I can actually spend the time on making this video series and making this game happen. And the exciting part about that is I'm talking a lot. I'm very sorry.
That's okay.
That's fine.
I've rarely been this excited about an idea.
No, go on.
Do the thing.
So, because in MS-DOS, you only have like 1 megabyte of memory that you can actually use. Back in the day, when people used like more than 1 megabyte of memory, they used extended memory managers. But the only thing they can do is put memory in like you can have a bunch of memory, like, I don't know, a kilobyte of memory, and you can put that in the big memory that you have, but you can't use it from there. So if you want to use it, you have to copy it back over into the 1 meg that DOS has, and then you can read it, which is not very convenient, because it means you can't use any data that's over like 64 kilobytes basically.
Oh my! This reminds me a lot of like reading like old game stuff, like for like weird tricks they had to do.
Yeah.
Get stuff to fit on, like, you know, the Game Boy cartridges and stuff like that. And
yeah, it's so cool.
It's so cool, but I cannot imagine why you would subject yourself to that when you were living in it. When I'm living in a day where I look, like, I write a method and I go, man, you know, if I wrote it like this, it'd be 100 times more efficient. And I go, I'll just call that every frame. It's not a big problem.
That's what I do now too, but you just can't do that. So I was like thinking about how to even like do a tile-based game in QBasic is basically impossible. So I was like, well, the NES did it and the Super Nintendo did it, so they must have a good idea about how to do it. And it turns out that they basically have like the 64 kilobyte block that has the tile maps in it, which describes like which tile is where. And then inside that 64 kilobyte block, they have all the palettes that all the graphics are using, and they have all the graphics that are being used in that scene. And then so I could do that in QBasic. I could basically put, and I have found that 64 kilobyte block outside of the 64 kilobytes that you get for QBasic. So I've allocated that already with assembly, and I'm going to put the tile maps and all the palettes and all the graphics in there, and then in one assembly call, I can draw the entire screen.
So, do you think that that's like, I think like working within restrictions is you're kind of doing a work within restrictions as far as code goes, right?
Yeah.
And I think that there's other examples of working with restriction that works out really well. For example, like pixel art is intentionally limiting your resolution. And I don't think pixel art would ever have been invented if we started right off the bat with like beautiful full pixel screens like we have today, right? Like right off the bat, people would have done illustrated kind of vector art or whatever for their games, and nobody would have ever been like, but what if I only had 8 freaking dots to play with, right? Like that'd be bizarre and rare, right? So there's and like there's a lot of also like music stuff, right? Like I love a chiptune, even though like they're weird like little bleeps and bloops, and ostensibly a like real violin's gonna sound better, but for some things, it's not.
Yeah. I think people are drawn to stuff that has like flaws.
Yeah. So do you think that that's like, do you think that like the restrictions that you're going to be dealing with this like like, honestly, like arduous QBasic stuff is gonna be like maybe inspire unique design elements that wouldn't have been developed otherwise.
Yeah, I think it would. Like, I mean, the same with pixel art. If you have these challenges, I mean, even if you look at the background. So, I looked at the Super Nintendo specs, and it's
Yeah.
like you can have a number of layers. Except depending on the number of layers you have, they can have a certain number of colors. So I'm going to emulate that, even though I have no real reason to. And the best mode I found was like 2 layers with 16 colors and one with 4 colors. But you can have a different palette per tile. So
Yeah.
you can have 4 colors per tile, except one is always transparent or a background color.
Yeah.
And I made the background in that picture, keeping that in mind. So the ice tips of the mountain, I make them on the tile boundaries, even though there's 4 colors in there, that there's only ever 3 colors per tile, if you know what I mean. And that influenced how the mountain looks. I mean, it's kind of the same as what you have with London Dare, which is in a week, by the way, people.
Is it?
And,
Oh shit.
You get this theme and you're like completely restricted and you have no idea what to do, and then you come up with something amazing.
That's a really good example, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do think that having, you know, limiting yourself on purpose and trying to work around that can really expand, in a way, your horizons instead of just, you know, grabbing for the first thing that comes to mind, like the easy solution.
Yes. Yes.
I understand that. Yeah.
The GB Jam, I think, is also a good example. Like, there's a lot of
Yeah.
cool, like a lot of the art there looks really nice, and I think like when you only got 3 colors to play with, like you're gonna pick 3 colors that look nice. You're gonna focus on the contrast, and you're going to like worry a lot about like how you can suggest the shapes in the most like simple way.
Yeah.
And it can be striking. Yeah.
So I do hope that my Patreon will actually get big, because this is going to be a big project. And unless I get something for it, I need to keep making other games that will actually make money. So hopefully I will be able to do it, but I'm not going to hope too much. So that's one thing I've been doing.
It's not really an efficient way to make the games either. So you
No,
definitely
but
the
it does
extra.
have cool stuff, like, because I'm emulating the Super Nintendo in QBasic, sort of, like
Yeah.
the design. And I'm even going as far as, did you know that HDMA in the Super Nintendo, which was this big thing, it's basically during the monitor's blank period, after it draws one line of pixels, they have a table that basically tells the Super Nintendo to set a certain, you know, write a certain value to a certain position in memory, and they did that. They used that to make all sorts of weird wavy effects and perspective tricks and stuff. I'm going to do that as well. So what I can do, because I'm limiting myself this way, I hope that I can turn the game, once it's done, into a Super Nintendo ROM.
Ooh.
Oh, now that is remarkable.
Yeah, so that would also be cool. And then I can do stuff like a Kickstarter to make actual cartridges or something. I don't even know. I'm getting way ahead of myself on this idea, but it's so cool.
It's fun. It's fun to dream big
Yeah.
or small, I guess, as it were.
I think,
Yeah.
I think not having a sandbox level of resources forces people to sort of be ingenious in the way they use what they have.
Yeah, you tighten up what you do have instead of just slapping on a bunch of other stuff. I think you see that a lot with other games, where instead of like making the core game mechanics really tight, they just slap in more and more features, all of which are underdeveloped.
Yeah.
And you wind up with this lukewarm game that tries to do too many things.
It's almost kind of bloated.
Yeah.
Like if So I'm thinking back to one of my favorite games, Fable. You know,
Oh god, yeah.
Fable: The Lost Chapters. Originally just regular Fable. It had very tight controls. It had great movement. The spells were fantastic. Eric, do you know anything about Fable?
I know a few things about Fable. I haven't actually played one though.
Oh, okay. Well, it had very tight controls, but it was loaded down with so many other little things that sort of took away from the general experience.
Mm.
You know,
was it like Fable 2 and Fable 3? Like, oh, you can marry someone, but it doesn't. It's not fleshed out and stuff.
Yes, Fable
that kind
1.
Of thing. Yeah.
Fable 1, it gave you the option of marrying anyone, but there was only ever one marriage that had any significance to the story or to your character. Like, you could literally have multiple marriages, and none of them would do anything aside from the fact that if one character found out, like, oh, you're married to all these other people, I'm divorcing you, and that's it.
In Fable 2 and 3, there was never a marriage that meant anything.
No.
They just didn't do anything with it. It was completely pointless.
Yeah, in Fable 1, there was just the one. And the only thing that you gain from the marriages is that your spouse would occasionally give you money.
Yeah, a present. That's in 2 and 3. And in 2 and 3, you could also buy houses and then decorate them, except there was no point.
That was also in 1.
The decoration mode was really bad.
There's no... It was loaded down.
Yeah, Fable is like the perfect feature creep example. It's like it tries to do so many things and none of them are interesting because they don't spend enough time on any one thing.
It just had so many features stapled onto it that I felt like if you just focus on one thing or like just a handful of things and you refine them, like combat in the game kind of felt dull after you reach demigod-like powers.
In Fable 2, you could just break the game. I can't remember what spells it was exactly. You have this time slow spell that slows everything down except for you.
Mm.
And you have this, I thought it was a fire spell or something. It's like an AoE around yourself. And if you charge it up, it basically insta-gibs everything around you. So what you just do is you slow time, use that time to charge up your spell to full, and then you insta-gib everything around you. And it's like, well, if you'd spent more time on the combat, maybe I wouldn't be able to break it this easily.
Something I like to do in games with like broken up combat is I like to try to think of how I'd fix it. Like one thing I remember I was playing Kingdoms of Amalur.
Oh my god.
That game's combat is like, I don't even know what they were thinking when they made that game so easy. Even on hard mode, like it's like almost impossible to die, and like everything, like you just beat everything before you even know what's going on, and like just a million other and like you kill like one enemy and you get the ability to freeze time and kill everything. So it's like, which one hit like that your fate destroyer move, whatever, is like one hits any boss too. So you're just like, I don't even know what the point is. So, but like when I play a lot of games like that, where I kind of realize that like something's kind of broken in a way that's bad or something, I like to think of how I'd fix it. So I pretty quickly in that game like told myself I wasn't allowed to use armor at all, or like, and I wasn't allowed to craft or use the fate move or anything like that. And I ended up like finding a really good combat like game inside of it, but only after I like
you
made
limit
my
yourself.
own rules. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, doing challenges can be fun, like the stuff people do in Dark Souls and you know, those kind of games, but you don't get there usually unless the game was already challenging and fun to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
And you're doing your game a disservice. And I don't know why so many games just don't get the core experience right before they start bolting things onto it. It's definitely something I try to do with mid-boss. It's like I'm finally... This is what else I've been up to. Good segue. I've been adding like containers, like so you can have smashable crates that occasionally drop bad loot. And there's like 3 types of chests now. So there's the plain chest, which is copper, which is like ubiquitous, but it doesn't drop very good loot. But it always drops loot. All chests do. And then there's the ornate chest, which is silver, which is rare, but it drops decent loot usually. And then there's a chance of 1 royal chest per level, which is this gold and red chest, and that always drops good loot. And it has like a good chance of dropping more than one thing of loot. And the idea is that you can, go through the level to look for that. But before I did any of that, and bookshelves, which drop tomes, which let you use abilities, but only a certain number of times. Before I added any of that, I made sure that the core experience of finding the enemy, killing the enemy, using tactics, and then possessing the enemy and learning their abilities was, satisfying and good to use. And whenever I add anything, I try and keep it balanced.
That's important. That's really good direction. I think that maybe something that happens is like big game studios maybe just have like so many people working on something that they just don't like get to focus on a cohesive design. Yeah, they just have like all these people pulling in different directions, and then like all these other people have, what if you could get married? Wouldn't that be cool? And then like it doesn't really get finished because there's 10 other things that people said would be cool to put in. And
what if you had a morality system?
What if you could arbitrarily fart at people? Fable.
That's not a bad development.
What if there was a special temple where you can just reset your morality system by paying tons of gold, even if you're a total dick to people? It's like,
what if we spent like tons of time developing the tech required for characters to hold hands?
Is that
Seriously,
a thing? Did they do that?
That was a thing.
Molyneux did this for Fable 3. It's like, but they can hold hands.
Development waste of time.
But nobody cares.
It was supposed to be a the whole holding hands thing was supposed to be like, oh, you can more immerse yourself with your relationships and with your wife / husband.
So after you were done farting at someone who finds farty noises very, very funny, you can take them on a date and then you can hold their hand. I feel so immersed.
I feel like having it to where like you could immerse yourself better with like their like whatever relationship thing. That's like I think that's a noble goal, right? But I think that they like, it sounds like they completely forgot like what counts, and like being able to graphically hold hands like is not what counts. Like having the characters feel like real people, or having their interactions feel meaningful is what counts. Yeah.
At least like, because you were basically just raising an affection meter with an NPC. Mm-hmm. By doing the emotes that match their preferences. All the emotes were like completely goofy, and it's like, well, maybe if you didn't make the emote so goofy, it would have more of an impact. Mm-hmm. But it's very goofy, so it doesn't have any impact because it doesn't feel seriously, because you can't take it seriously.
Yeah.
Just Molyneux, why? Why, Molyneux? Why?
It was pretty bad. Let's see.
And I'm saying this as someone who enjoyed Fable games.
I love Fable 1.
Fable 3's story was actually quite good.
I love Fable 1. It was
just so disappointing.
Yeah.
It had so much potential.
I feel like that's just Lionheart Studios' entire life.
Lionhead.
Lionhead? Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot the wrong name. I got the wrong name.
Yeah. Lionhead Studios was like the studio that almost could, but then completely didn't.
Because they overpromised. They overpromised so much.
So that was mid-boss. What else have I been doing? I don't usually have this much to say. Usually when Vin asks me, like, what have you been doing? It's like, I've been working on mid-boss. But now I have other stuff in my life.
Yes.
I've been working on Ultra Hat Dimension.
Mm-hmm.
I love the colors in that so far. I've seen the
new colors or the old colors?
That's like the green tiles. I think it's the one I've seen new. I think it's the ones I've seen recently, but I remember liking them pretty much at all stages. So.
Yeah, because we used to. So Ultra Hat Dimension was a Ludum Dare game, and we had a different artist who is not on the team now. So I'm doing all the additional art, and because we're adding a floor, I wanted to kind of thematically tie all the floors together a bit more.
Mm-hmm. Oh, is the version that I have out of date?
No,
No?
That's still the Love and Dare version. The other version we're still working on. That's coming out in November. That's going to be a commercial release.
Okay, so the version that's coming out is the one with the different art?
Yeah, the different art, because Wolf was the artist, and he does a very good out there palette, which my brain doesn't really. It doesn't work with my brain, so I had to redo all the floor palettes, and I feel so bad about it because people are always like, "Oh, I love the colors in Ultra Hat Dimension so much," and I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna ruin it now."
Oh no.
But I did so it has a seasonal theme for every floor. So you start on the spring floor, which is like bright pinks and greens, and then you go to the summer floor, which is bright blues, very, very pale bright blues and whites and greens. Then you go to the fall floor, which is like yellows and oranges and reds. Then you go to the winter floor, which is, icy. And then there's another floor, but that's a secret. So I can't tell you about that one.
Cool. I like that theme.
The game does not lend itself well to window capture, by the way.
No?
No.
You can... There's the web version. You could do the web version.
No, I'm gonna get it. Don't you worry.
Well, I'm gonna link it anyway. This is the web version, so you can play that in your browser if you're watching this on YouTube or in Twitch right now. You can totally go and play this.
Yes, please do.
But yeah, the new version is gonna be have better like tutorials. It's gonna have an entirely new floor. It's gonna have redesigned puzzles, so they're a bit tighter and better designed. It might have some new mechanics, but we're doing pretty well with the mechanics that we have, which is surprising because there's only like the one mechanic really. And there's going to be a big boss battle. What we also want to do is make like a map repository where people can use Tiled, which is a free map editor that you can use. And they can upload their custom maps to a repository that people can browse from in the game to keep playing the game after they're done with the story mode. And we're going to release that as like, it's going to be a fairly cheap game. So it's going to be like, I don't know, $5 or euros or something.
I started playing with it because I haven't played it yet. I guess somehow I missed the announcement that it was on. I like how it's kind of like I like the way it is teaching you through the first few levels, right? Like there's literally nothing in the room, but like there is a key, right? So I'm gonna pick up the key and there's a door I'm gonna use. Like that's all pretty normal. But like the placement of these little dudes with boxing gloves is done in a way that's harmless at first and like shows you, hey, these guys to punch you away, and then like you get the hat. And I'm like, oh, this hat makes me immune to punches. But like, I'm like, no, it only makes me immune to punches when I have the same hat as the puncher, because then the other ones are placed in a position where they have to punch you on their way through. So that's one of my favorite kind of like design ways, is like where you don't have to like tell someone what to do. You just have it built in a way that they figure it out because of whatever they're going to do naturally ends up giving them the information.
Mm-hmm. I like...
Yeah, Lena, sorry to cut in, Lena Loray did most of the actual level design and puzzle design. Or actually, she basically did all of it. We collaborated on the mechanical design, though. So that's all. What were you going to say, Vin?
No, I was just going to say, like, I like how instead of... do you remember how older games used to have that tutorial level?
Like
scenario?
the first level in Mega Man X.
Yeah. I like games that do that.
Yeah, the first floor is like the entire tutorial floor.
Yeah. I like games that have tutorial levels. This is as opposed to tool tips, help tips, that kind of thing. Because for me, I'm the kind of person who learns by doing. You know, if you just tell me, like, if you just give me, like, tooltips and read, I'll figure it out eventually. But it's faster and it's more intuitive for me to learn by just doing, by playing through it. So if you have, if you have a couple of training levels, I always jump into those first before jumping into the actual game. Of course, that's just me. You know, other people might be different.
And Lena did a really good job at teaching the player. The only problem was Okay, so there's a sort of rock paper scissors type game, except it's 4, where diagram in the top left of the screen shows you which hat is strong against which hat by following the arrows. So I
see
you
that.
see the little feather cap at the bottom is strong against a witch's hat. And so what happens is what we hoped players would realize, but they didn't because we didn't specifically teach them, which we're going to remedy in the new version, is that people realize if a hat is strong against another hat, then they will do a knockout punch. Whereas the reverse is a weak hat, so they will do a knockback punch. And if they're evenly matched, then they will get locked into a brawl.
Forever
and that
and
way
ever?
you can, yeah, and that way you can predict like your moves and what they're gonna what's gonna happen. But most people didn't realize that's what was going on, so they would just experiment and see things randomly happening, and they didn't really understand why, which was a bit unfortunate.
I don't know if this can be easily fixed because I had the same. I was just playing right now, and it wasn't until you mentioned it that I'd already done like a push into a thing to hurt them, and I didn't look at the thing in the top left screen because for some reason I just
we didn't
like
draw attention to it. That's the problem.
But another thing I don't know if this is possible, but the order of the hats also doesn't intrinsically make any sense. Like that stars beats feathers and that witch beats bow doesn't like. I mean, if it's possible to pick hats that look like they would be arranged in a rock paper scissors formation, that also might be more clear. But I don't know if that's actually or not, because
I'm not sure how you could make that work.
Yeah,
was that just an art direction choice then? That you have witches' hats, bows, stars, and wings and
That's
feather wings.
just what the artist came up with. Honestly, I mean, it's a lot of their games, so everyone just kind of rushed through and did their own thing.
All right.
But I mean, I like the way the hats look, and it's very hard unless you make like a scissor hat and a rock hat and a paper hat or something. Except 4 of those, people are going to get that, but otherwise they're probably not going to understand instinctively what it is. So the diagram is just something that needs to be there, and what we had to do is, draw more attention to the diagram. But yeah, that's going to hopefully come out in November, so that's exciting.
Cool.
We're going to launch that on itch.io, which is amazing.
Oh, I love itch.
You call it itch.io?
Yeah, it's itch.io.
Really? I've always pronounced it itch.io.
I always said itch.io.
Huh.
Yeah.
I'll be damned. Okay. Maybe I'm just saying it
That's how
wrong.
most people did it. I was unaware that there was a itch.io.
Your way makes a lot more sense than mine. Trust me. I was just thinking because I just see it all as one word, but itch.io makes a lot more sense with the way it's written. God damn.
Yeah, so people basically need to be on there because it's like the Steam of D&D space.
Yeah.
If you're not on there, then you're kind of like, what are you even doing with your life?
It's even like, I feel like it's.
I feel the need to suddenly address the people who are not on itch.io. I have to say, your other mother and I are very disappointed in you.
Wow.
We expected better from you. We didn't raise you to not be on itch.io. For shame. Okay, continue.
We can talk about game vendors if you want. Like, we still have some time left in the podcast before I head out for burger night.
Yeah, when is that? When are we done?
I think we'll wrap it up for questions in about 15 minutes.
Oh wow, this is going to be a short episode.
No, we can go on for a bit longer, I think.
But yeah, usually we go for 3.
I've gotten due permission that I can go on for a bit longer. Yeah. So.
Okay.
So yeah, let's. If you want to talk about game vendors, we can talk about game vendors.
Do you have anything to like? I'm just on itch.io, and I'm gonna be on Steam, and maybe I'm gonna apply for GOG, and maybe I'm gonna do Humble Widget, but I'm not very sure how passive traffic is on there.
Also, Eric, you can feel free to drop links to your stuff. I have given you the magic powers to be able to.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Here's Earth Tongue on Steam.
So what are your impressions of the different vendors now that they've sort of solidified? Like Desura's pretty much out of the picture. Humble does have its own store. Yeah. I think Bundle Stars is actually a third-party vendor. They don't actually sell anything. But Humble has their own store. Steam, itch.io, GOG. Like, what do you guys think about?
I mean, I'm very ornery about this, and I don't do what everyone else in the development space tells me, which is to be on as many stores as possible. Like, I try to be on as few stores as possible so I can direct the user experience and maximize conversions. That's my strategy, and it may well be wrong. I don't know.
Oh, what is your reasoning for that?
Well, like, if you're on a lot of storefronts, it's kind of a hassle, and most of them, the smaller ones, don't provide all that much passive traffic or exposure anyway. So why bother? And they don't give you enough control about how to lay out your page and, like, have certain JavaScript things on it and, like, have everything immediately apparent and accessible and stuff. So if that's going to happen, I'd rather route people through my homepage and spend a bit more effort on that than, you know, be on a bunch of storefronts.
I can see that.
What do you do?
I do itch. I do Steam with Earth Tongue, which is great, and I do Indie Game Stand. I haven't looked into any of the other ones. I think for a similar reason as you, it's honestly just stressful to try to like manage so many different platforms. Just every time, you know, if you do a change, you've got to bring it to everywhere. You've got to have all your
Push the
stuff.
patch everywhere, yeah, and some of them are not very convenient for that kind of thing.
Yeah, and then like it's just, I guess, a lot of stuff to think about, and it's just like there's not really a lot of payout if it's just going to be another place to have your page, because I'm just going to link I'm only going to do links to Steam and itch, right? If I'm on another place, I'll talk about it like if they're running a sale with my game or something, I guess, although I don't usually do sales yet. I think itch is my favorite in just kind of like what it is, like a distribution place that you have enough control over your like homepage or whatever to where you can get it how you like it, but like it's so simple that you don't need to know anything about making a web page to make a nice looking page that has your game on it that you can sell it through. Like, holy crap, that would never be possible before. You'd have to go make your own website. Not everyone who can make a game can also make a website. Or
well, then they need to learn.
Well, they probably do, right? But like or maybe they just don't want to like. It's a hurdle.
It feels like a waste of time to be working on a website when you're like, I could be making my game better.
Exactly. And I found that on Indie Game Stand I did a pay what you want sale for I think a couple weeks or something before I was on Steam, and I found that particularly valuable towards getting on Greenlight.
So I have to admit, I don't know a lot about Indie Game Stand. So what's that like?
It's I guess it's kind of like it's curated, so you can't just go there and put up your game. You have to apply for it. Other than that, you just kind of you also don't really have a lot of control over the page. You just kind of have like a banner image kind of thing, or not really banner image, but like a big, I guess I don't know the word for it, rectangle image that's like a poster.
Like a header.
Yeah, like that. And I guess I mean I think functionally it's probably kind of similar to itch in that it's a place for smaller games to get sold, although you have to be it's only curated by the people. I found almost zero passive discoveries on it, but like
okay, so no passive.
But during the pay what you want, it was good. So I think it's pretty much a apply to be in the sale kind of place.
Yeah, then I'm not going to be in it.
Yeah,
I don't see if it doesn't. That's what I think. If it doesn't give you passive traffic, what's the point?
I thought of a really good point too. Payouts. It pays you instantly on every transaction you get, right? Whereas some games they got to give you, they only pay you every $100 or something like that, right? And when your game is like, if you're just making a really small game and you're like, oh, I made this game in a month and I really hope I make it $200 from it because I just made it in my free time, right? If you are getting like payouts, you might make 250 and never get that 50. But if you're on something like itch, like you get 250, you got 250.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you
That makes
get
sense.
the dollar as soon as you want it.
I mean, if I'm making less than $100 per game, then
Then you're
I'm going to
kind of-
have an issue, you know, eating.
But like maybe some of the payouts are higher, right? Like if the payout's 500 or something, right? And then you're going to be you're going to be pretty salty about not getting that. You have to wait for each 500 to take to get your money as opposed to getting it right away.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, I'm trying to do this full time, so I'm hoping I will sell a little bit better than, you know, $500 on Steam, you know.
You should. I mean, like the case that I'm bringing out as far as payouts go is an edge
it's
case
for
only for edge
small-
people. It's not.
yeah.
It's not my. I'm also not concerned about losing $50 either. But
Yeah, sorry, I was just reasoning from my own perspective here. I was like, well,
Yeah.
there's no point for me being on, but it might be good for someone else, obviously. And that's the thing, like, it depends on where your aim is. Like, we like to say indie games, but, like, there's so much variation in indie games. Like, you have the big star indies with the nostalgia bucks on Kickstarter who are making, like, $1 million games, and then you have people who make, like, Snake and put it up on itch.io and, you know, want to make a couple bucks.
yeah,
And that's a big spread. Not
Okay.
everyone is as serious about their business as you know, some people.
I have a question for both of you. So,
Okay.
do you think when applying to, or when you sell on different vendors, you're applying for different audiences as well?
Not necessarily. I don't think so. I think that's my point. I don't think like every storefront has its own audience or dedicated user base. I think that's also why Eric says there's like zero passive on Indie Game Stand, because most people who will seek out and buy games are going to be on GOG and Steam. And if you want to sell to people, you need to be on GOG and Steam, and anywhere else is basically just
Too
something.
niche, maybe?
No, I think no, it's just something that handles your transactions, your fiscal stuff for you, because you don't want to handle that yourself. That's what I think.
I think if there were sites that were like maybe these exist and they're just not popular, but like if they were like, we're the roguelike site, you know, we sell the roguelikes that you won't get anywhere else because they're not big enough, but like if you're a hardcore fan, we've got them, right? And then like maybe there'd be that kind of site to go to, but most of them are just kind of we sell indie games, right? And like
Yeah.
you're gonna go for Steam or you're gonna go for itch, and I think itch has pretty much standed itself lately as like the place people are gonna go for indie games too. So if you've got those two, you've pretty much got everything covered except for like, unless you've got a specific genre related store.
There's also GOG that that does have some passive as far as I hear, especially since Steam is getting like less and less curated. Being on GOG is more of a mark of quality, I think. But I also hear they're very picky, so
I actually haven't thought about GOG before. I might they might be too picky for me, but I might.
yeah, you have to
Think about 'em.
basically ask them, can I put your game on? And half the time they'll just be like, no.
Jeez.
That's what I hear. I don't know. I love you, GOG. Please take my game. Yeah, I definitely agree with what Eric says.
Okay.
There is very little reason. And what you said about, like, maybe there's a site that sells roguelike games, but it's like, that's pointless. There's already the Rogue Basin, which is a wiki of all the roguelike games that links to all the places where you can either download or buy set roguelike games. So it doesn't need to be a store. That don't need to be niche indie game stores.
That makes sense.
Makes no sense for that to be a thing. So you just want to be on the biggest ones. And itch.io is very good because he lets you, he being Moonscript, lets you set the percentage that you pay out to him, which by default is 10%, which is 20% better than Steam. So if you want to buy a game, it's better to buy it on itch.io because the developer gets more money.
It's true. And you usually get a Steam key with it too.
Yep.
If you buy Earthbound in itch, you get a free Steam key as well. So there's literally nothing you lose except for I get like $1
More money,
half
yeah.
more. Yeah.
But we don't pay more.
Nope.
It's the
No.
same
It's
price.
Well, unless the developer said it to be more on each, but that
That's
would
it.
be very dumb.
They're
It'd be-
5 on both. Technically, it's $4.99 on Steam due to pricing conventions, but it's just a flat 5 on itch. Just for whatever reason, I've never really enjoyed the .99 convention.
Tax purposes.
But I think if you want to save a cent, then
No, as in if you bring it up to $5, they tax you for up to $5.99. But if you set it
really?
at $4.99, it's effectively $5. But they don't tax you as $5. They tax
If
you
only
as
we
$4.
had the technology to have the amount in a computer and have it automatically calculate a correct, to the hundredths of a cent tax.
We might
If
even
only we
also,
had like something like that could compute these kinds of things, like a computer.
in such a world we could even live in a place where doing taxes isn't like this weird, horrible form thing.
It's not the same as like a dark ritual.
If only we lived in 2015 and not 1970.
Hey, you know what? Steam's
But
been doing that
alas.
thing since its inception in 2008, I believe. I've never seen like a flat $10 on Steam ever.
That's probably a convention. You're probably not allowed to do that. I don't know. I'm not on Steam yet. I've been greenlit, but I can't. Like, I'm not going to do early access because it's not that good.
Yeah.
At least I don't think it's that good.
I'd be interested to hear your thoughts about that, actually.
I have no hard data in this. I just think early access suffered a blow in like confidence because of a lot of games. And it can be good if you're one of these ongoing like online multiplayer zombie survival, dino survival, something survival games. That can be good. Or if you're like Darkest Dungeon or something and get like massive hype, it can be good. But you can be not on early access and still be selling your game. And then you're not getting much, if anything. But you can still be selling it. Like Notch did with Minecraft. And the problem with early access is if once you go on early access on Steam, all the big news outlets and YouTubers and reviewers and pundits and critics, like most of them are going to treat your product as if it's a finished product because nowadays you don't know if an early access game is ever going to get finished.
Ooh,
So you get this
that's
initial
true.
wave of like half of your media coverage, which covers your game as if it's done, which it's not. So it's going to be a bad impression, and half of them not covering it and opting to wait until your game is done. And then you get like this slow trickle of media attention over your early access career, and then by the time your game actually comes out, the consumer will feel like, well, this came out ages ago, and the media coverage will be halved because now the other half that waited is covering your games, but the first half is going to be like, well, I already did this, so there's no profit in it for me to cover this again. So you're fragmenting your media coverage. People don't trust early access as much anymore, and people are going to be bored of seeing your game's name by the time it actually comes out. So I just don't, for most games which have a clearly defined done state like Mid-Boss, I don't think it's wise to do early access because you're fragmenting your media coverage, and it's just I don't think it's good.
So
And I have no hard data for this, so this is just speculation.
So you prefer to do like the full one push on release, like
Yeah, it's like
classic
this,
style.
This is the game. Everyone has been sent the keys. Now all the YouTubers and the articles and the journalists will maybe cover my game or maybe not, but at least it'll all be at the same time, and all the consumers will be like, "Oh, this is a new game that I can get now."
You don't
Like, 'cause-
consume your press early on.
Yeah, you don't waste it, and also it's for consumers because a consumer might be like, "Well, this is an early access game, but I don't really trust early access, so I'll get it when it's out." And then your game comes out like 6 months, a year and a half later, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that game,
or they don't even hear about it.
They don't even care. Yeah, they don't even. No, even if they hear about it, they might not even care anymore because people are fickle.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, bored now.
Yep.
Changed my mind. So I don't think it's worth it personally.
I think,
but like I said, I have no idea if that's actually true.
It is a huge, like, I think also like the style of game, right? Like, there's definitely a lot of people who just like, I think early access, I want to get my money now, or you know, God forbid, they're like, maybe I'll finish it, maybe I won't. I just want to sell it right now, right? Like that's gross. But
yeah.
like, if you really, if you like are actually legitimately concerned with ethically using early access, I think you have to ask yourself like if your game is kind of like, you know, Minecraft is a good example. I think Don't Starve also was really nice, and like probably I guess Terraria kind of was the same thing. But like if you're kind of a game that has like, it's kind of one of those games where you can always just kind of layer more content on top and it's nice, but like it's always a like kind of like interesting game experience at all levels. It doesn't feel incomplete. It just feels like there could be more. Then like early access, it might be a good idea for you because you can also get a lot of like, there's an unprecedented amount of feedback you can get from that. Like if you get a bunch of people playing your game, they've all got recommendations, or they're like Darkest Dungeon. I think like the community breaking the balance constantly is like probably the best. Like how to balance, like are we going to make our game like our combat balance what we want it to? The best experience for that you can get.
Those are legitimate reasons, but like you mentioned Darkest Dungeon getting like feedback, and Nuclear Throne also did that thing, except they made it more expensive in early access than it's going to be on release, to only get the people with valuable feedback.
Interesting.
And like I've had, let's pull up my stats here, real quick. Currently install user base on Midboss since I started with the new version, and this is just served from my own site. Now, this is the roguelike community, so keep that in mind, that they are a bit more supportive of turn-based roguelikes than, you know, most games.
They're like classic roguelike.
Classic roguelike. I have an installed user base of 1,945 people. And a lot of these people have given me feedback. And I haven't been on early access, because I didn't have to be on early access just to get feedback. And you don't really want to have too much feedback either.
Yeah.
Because then it just gets overwhelming. And yeah, like, so I just don't see the point of being in early access.
You've got kind of like a soft early access one where you're not noisy about it. Like
yeah,
where
exactly.
people who are like existing huge fans of it.
Yeah.
Are going to find you through your website or something like that, or your Twitter.
Yeah, or rogue basing or something.
But you haven't gone and said like every single YouTuber, every single game magazine, write about my game that's technically playable right now.
Like,
right? Yeah.
I am very hesitant about approaching press about Midboss before it's completely a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's the right way, but it's the right way for me. And I mean, I have to say, I do speak from a privileged position that I did go to a Dutch college and I have no debt, and I have a bunch of savings, so I don't need money now to keep myself in business while I make the game. So if that's what you need to do, then early access might be a thing for you. Although in that case, I would personally just recommend a Kickstarter.
Game stuff is definitely hard because there's a lot of like, everybody's kind of like mileage is different on it, and it's hard to give any kind of like I guess advice that applies to everyone, but I think your perspective is valuable for sure.
I think there's a lot of things in the game industry, especially in indies, that are seen as like conventional wisdom, like oh, early access is good, and oh, Kickstarter is a good idea, and you know, all these types of things, and oh, just be on all the storefronts. And I think that you need to step back and stop just taking everyone's word for what you need to do, and do your own business intelligence and figure out what you need to do and what is best for your game and your business.
Well, I mean, most games fail, right? Like if the advice that was just literally everywhere, if the advice on the front page of r/game dev, all like in the comments or whatever at all times, like if that was always the best advice, right? There wouldn't, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I feel like
everyone would be a success.
Yeah, well, you know, maybe, but like
there'd be more success stories.
That's kind of like a commentary on life. Like everyone's saying, "Oh, you should do this. You should study that."
Yeah.
And it's like, if that way worked 100% of the time, everyone
that
would be
worked
doing
for them
it.
at that stage. Was
Yeah.
their opportunities.
Yeah. Really, the only good advice I think is like to be unique, and that's like
You know
there's
what my
no set of
best
guidelines for that.
You know what my best piece of advice is? This is very interesting because recently, well, I say this is very interesting, but that's up to everyone else to decide. Recently, I watched Double Fine Adventure. No, Double Fine. Was it Double Fine Adventure?
I think so. Is that the one
documentary?
where they're developing Broken Age, right?
Yeah, the documentary about developing Broken Age.
Yeah. I know that one.
Yeah, and that is a very interesting watch.
I need to watch that.
After watching that, I was like, wow, these guys don't really have any more of a clue what they're doing than I do. And this is like a big studio with like Tim Schafer,
Double Fine.
millions of dollars. Yeah, this is Double Fine in San Francisco, and they're just playing it by ear. And it's like if they're like that, then anyone who's giving you advice is. They don't know anything. I don't know anything. I'm an idiot. Why are you listening to me?
Yep.
Just don't listen to anyone. Listen to your heart.
I feel like there was a song about that, but okay, yeah.
Listen to your heart. Sorry, I won't sing.
No, do it.
No.
Well,
That's as much as
that
you
makes
get.
it awkward.
Yeah.
LF Group says that's why the guys developing No Man's Sky aren't releasing it until it's ready. Yes. Nice. Yeah. Apparently.
I agree with them. Probably if they release it now, people will be like, what the hell is this? Then again, Ark Survival does very well. And that's like
Ark
a
Survival
game where periodically you get a message where you defecate it yourself. So, you know.
Ark Survival is quirky.
Yeah,
Like-
it's YouTube bait, isn't it?
It's I don't want to say yes, but I don't want to say no either. The character customization screen is basically the game. Like how you can build such like
No, I've been watching a couple of videos by Etho. I don't know if anyone's familiar with him. He usually does Minecraft, but he's very into the nitty-gritty type person.
okay.
He's very detail-oriented. And it turns out, okay, that in Ark Survival evolved dinosaurs, Nazi zombies from space.
What?
I don't know. I keep forgetting what the title is.
There's
So
a
we just made
Nazi
something up.
zombies from space part?
No, I made that up.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, underneath all the ha ha ha, I shit myself and ha 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 zombies, dinosaurs, sorry. It's always zombies when it's survival in my head.
Oh.
There's an actual game, and there's like actual nuance and mechanics that are interesting. And nobody's showing that because it's like, haha, I can make a goofy character and a character generation, and now I've shit myself. I can throw the poo.
That makes me feel like it's a shame. I don't,
is a
I
bit of
don't
a shame.
enjoy. I don't enjoy the kind of like the space zombie dinosaur like
Space
aesthetic.
zombies.
I guess that's not my jam. I don't find it particularly funny. I don't find it unfunny, but I think I've kind of like the appeal has lost off. So like
Yeah, but the whole ecosystem thing, that sounds like it would be your jam.
yeah, oh definitely. But
If
the thing
it
is, like, you've got to but you don't bury it beneath that stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
Yeah,
you've got a good solid
and
game.
they
you
did
don't need
that.
to bury it in a weird gimmicky thing. You can make a heartfelt thing that you care about.
Yeah, and the tech is impressive in that game. So I don't know why. Well, I mean, it's working for them. So who are we to criticize, really?
That's you know what? That's here I am sitting here making probably less than them saying what a bad idea. So that's probably you know what? Never mind.
I also think that's a good thing. LF Group said about No Man's Sky. I just realized that maybe they're not doing early access because their game isn't that exciting. Because doing interesting proc gen is hard, and it might be a very interesting tech experiment, but not a very interesting game. And they're not doing early access because this is one of the problems of early access. If your game is not very good, like you're not getting that one big push. Like if your game is bad and you get one big push, kind of like, I don't know, movies like Pixels and Terminator Genesis, They make a lot of money because people go into the theater on the first day not knowing it's terrible.
I think one of the interesting things that draws people to games like Ark, games like Rust, games like what's that Z game? The first one.
The Warzy?
No, not the terrible
Daisy?
one. That's what. It's been so long. That
I
game's
know,
been
nobody cares about that game anymore.
That's so sad. But I think a lot of things that draw people to these games is the game's ability to establish your own narrative and how it brings out different facets of personality. Like, I was looking through the Steam reviews. A couple of you guys may have caught this while I was tweeting it out. A couple weeks back, I was reading through the Steam reviews for Ark Survival, and it's a horror story of sociopathic and psychopathic tendencies that people have done.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, apparently there's a berry in the game called the Trank Berry. If you force feed it to someone, their character goes limp and unconscious.
Yeah, you can drag them around and stuff.
You can drag them back to your like pre-dug pit, bury them
put them in
alive,
there.
or like keep them prisoner. And there's this particularly gruesome one where the writer of the review says 10 out of 10, you know, Trank buried this one dude, dragged him back to my fungeon, and force-fed him my poop every time he complained.
Was that an NPC or another player?
No, that was another player.
Oh, geez.
You know what the sad part is?
Terrifying.
The game isn't even like that. The game is like babysitting a freaking dino for 2 hours, force feeding it berries so it'll go tame so you can get killed and start all over again. That's the actual game. All these cool emergent narratives. They're not even. They're like the 1%.
Boo 1%. Yeah. But yeah, the game is about dinosaurs and giant sharks and spiders and stuff like that. And you see people just kidnapping other players. And I think that's part of the thrill. Like, you see that kind of behavior in Rust, and you see like people take it like badges of honor or stories that, oh, I managed to completely scare off this one dude who was armed to the teeth because like I bluffed him out, or because I act like a crazy psycho killer and followed him around while singing like happy birthday. You know, like,
that's generally a pretty compelling element for me. Is games that I feel like like you kind of forge your own narrative, because that's stuff that I always used to enjoy in old games.
The problem is if you let people forge their own narrative, then their narrative is going to be, I am going to be a total
dick.
Yeah.
Not always though, right? I saw a post recently about this guy who was like online GTA or something, and he's like I dressed up like a mime and all I did was jazz hands towards people, and like eventually he made like friends with this dude who wore like a Danimal suit who also did that, and they just like slowly gathered like followers of people who just walked around doing nothing but the jazz hands emote until eventually some people tried to kill them or something like that, right? Like usually people will say that. Usually people will say, I'm going to be a highwayman or something, but like every now and then you get unique stuff that arises.
Yeah, it's not all psychopathic murder poop feeding things.
God, I hope not.
Oh, and this brings me to the other thing I've been doing.
Wait, hang on. Wait, what?
Yeah, the whole DIY MMO thing, which is...
Oh, okay.
Because if I do an MMO, it's not going to be like... Because I am doing an MMO, and I'm doing it as a video series on YouTube. Hang on, let me link that to you. There you go. Yeah, I'm doing a video series of me making an MMO on YouTube because I'm an idiot. That's actually my intro for all the videos.
It says, hello, idiot.
No, it says, that's just the first episode. I just introduced the series, and then I always say, I'm making an MMO on my own because, and I'm usually say something self-disparaging. But yeah, in my MMO, I'm not going to have like open PvP or anything, because if you want to have a community, that's like not complete anarchy. You have to basically force people
to play nice.
To play nice.
That says a lot, doesn't it?
I think.
Yeah, the only reason we're not all murdering each other for shits and giggles is because there's consequences. If you take away the consequences, people are animals. It's quite sad and disturbing. This is what game development has taught me.
It's a sad commentary on society.
Yeah. No, I don't think that's actually true, but in a game, like, there is literally no consequences either for you or for the other person.
It's odd because in a game with like no real life consequences, you see people basically like it's sort of an interesting dichotomy. How you have some people living out heroic fantasies, and then you have the I don't have any numbers to support this, but I'm gonna assume like an equal amount of people enacting out their villainous fantasies.
I think the difference between the two is that one group of people has a higher sense of empathy for other people and how they feel about things than the other one. Because when you load up a game, we're all dicks. Like, I loaded up Delver the other day, and you start in a camp, and there's some NPCs, and literally the third thing I did was I hit one of the NPCs just to see if I could kill them. You can't, by the way, but it's what I did. And I consider myself one of the nicer people. So that's just what you do. You just want to test the limits. And I think whether you become a good guy or a bad guy, when it involves other people, is how far you can empathize with other people and realize that if you do certain things to other people, you're ruining their day. Mm-hmm. That's what I think.
I think, this actually just reminds me a bit of I think there's kind of an interesting way in Dark Souls that people are like dicks in really nice ways. I don't know if you've ever been like invaded by people doing ridiculous stuff, but like that is a often like big thing among people who like do invading in Dark Souls.
Oh yeah, and then they start dancing around, and they drop like stuff at your feet.
But like the idea is that one thing they'll do is like they'll give you items, right? But like a lot of them will like make sure that they kill you in a like really bizarre way. Like this guy, like some of them are just kind of like, my rule is I've got to kick people off the edge of ledges, right? And so like when you're playing and you encounter the dude who does nothing but like run to cliffs and then like start kicking you and freak you out, and then you run away, like he just is there to kick you off ledges or stuff, or like or kind of freak you out in that regards, right? Like
that's you.
It's funny. It's like you're being pranked, or they do stuff like some of them will just play in ways that just generally like terrorize you. Like they'll poison you and then just run away, so you've got to just sit there and heal and feel bad. Like they won't just kill you. They'll sit there and make you miserable for a long time. And like that's mean. Like that's straight up mean. But like the thing is that in the context of that, like everyone who's ever acted like that, I found to be like a really nice, good person. And like and then like on the conversely, everyone who just like just comes in with their best stuff and just slams you down with a sword in one hit, they're just like, oh yeah, I like make people die or whatever, right? And the people who like are actually doing like, I guess kind of, I wouldn't call it torture, right? But they're what's the word? Tormenting people, right? They're actually the nicest, funnest people.
They make it interesting.
Yeah, I guess they make it interesting because it's just they engage the actual like practical joke funness of it, as opposed to just the I'm superior to this person aspect.
I've experienced that in some acting. Like apparently it's commonly said among acting.
Oh yeah?
That the nicest people make the most horrifying villains. Like people you meet on the street, they're like completely pleasant. They're like, hey, I'll take you out for some burgers, or I'll take you out for some drinks. And when they're in the acting mode, when they're saying their lines, it's the most frightening. They're just horrific villains.
Maybe that's also an empathy thing.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I consider myself quite an empathic person. And when I played Ultima Online, I was part of an evil village. And all the people in the evil village were like really nice people. But we all lived in the evil village, and we all played evil characters. And we didn't even do much bad stuff to the good guys. Like, we did a couple of raids, but we like did these surgical strikes where we'd come in and just kill them all and then be out before anyone had any idea of what was going on. And the good guys would raid us in our homes while we were like not even doing anything of significance. And they would just kill us and loot us. And this one leader in the roleplay community on my server one time came in, and he was shouting, "We will count all blues," which is to say, in Ultima Online, you could have guild versus guild wars, and then if you killed each other, you couldn't give murder counts. And he was like, if we see anyone who is not in a guild war with us, and they attack us and they kill us, we will give them a murder count. So they become a player killer and go red and can't go to the safe space anymore. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I was in between guilds because I was moving from one of the guilds in the town to another guild. And I was like, well, fuck it. I'm going to kill you just as hard. Heck, I'm going to kill you twice as hard because now you've annoyed me. And this is my town. You don't come into my town shouting that crap. And then, give me murder counts. See who cries more.
That sounds like you're, what's it? Arnold Schwarzenegger in The Last Stand. You have like this huge, I don't know, like this huge drug raiding party passing through your town, and you're like, fuck no.
Yeah, I was like, fuck it, bring it, bitch.
I think that reminds me of something I use, because it's really fun to like when you're kind of like defeating people in games, it's really fun to defeat people who you also know are jerks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's so good.
One thing I used to do back when I used to play RuneScape as a little kid, which I was just as a kid so into, is I made a Pure, which is a character with a deceptively low level for his power, because you maximize the level gains and you have the best equipment possible for your level. But what I did was that I would equip low level stuff that somebody my level probably would have and pretend like I didn't know what I was talking about and stand near the PvP zone. And
they try and pick on you.
Yeah, they try to scam me. They tell me there was money and they're going to take me to it. And I'd be like, oh, really? Oh, thank you so much. Please show me. I'll follow you. And they take me to the PvP zone. I remember one guy, he comes up to me and goes, I'm sorry, but this is where you die. And he pulls out his sword and I go, no, you. And I pull out my sword and he goes, no,
nice.
please. And like, but it's all in bad stuff. There's no PLZ, all one word.
No, please.
Right? But like
no,
just the sheer just instant turns around and begs for not to get killed is like, it was, as a little kid, and probably would be even now, it's just so satisfying. You could not handle, because this dude is just trying to scam people who don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
I had this guildmate in Ultima Online at some point who would just kill other guildmates randomly for sport and laugh about it. And I hated her so much. Because she did it to me like a couple of times. And so one day I was completely sick of it. I just equipped a vanquishing halberd, which is like the most damage in a single strike that you could, and got a strength potion to add the damage and an explosion potion to add more damage. And I just stood in the guild house, hidden, and I just waited for hours until she came by, and she didn't see anyone and thought she was completely safe. And I leapt out of the I swigged the strength potion and leapt out of the shadows, threw the explosion potion, knocked her over the head with the halberd, and she was dead before she even could react to it. And I laughed and laughed and laughed.
That's funny.
So that was good. She never picked on me again. It was very strange.
I wonder why. It's like, my name is Eniko. You picked on me too many times. Prepare to die.
Yeah, I can be a bit vengeful. So someone in chat is saying someone needs to make an MMO with actual consequences. I did consider doing that. If you want to play such an MMO, you have to go back to the 90s when people were actually still trying to make MMOs immersive. Mm-hmm. There was a game, Dark Ages, where you could actually become like a politician or a guard or something in a certain town, and that actually semi-worked. So that was interesting.
Huh. Wait, a politician?
Yeah, you could run for office. You could be a demagogue, and you could become a judge and a guard captain. And even the games masters were recruited from the most respected players in the player community, and they became rangers. So that was very interesting. It's called Dark Ages. Not Dark Age of Camelot, just Dark Ages.
Okay.
It was a very interesting game. And I would love to do that, but I don't know if I actually trust communities enough to police themselves like that.
I don't... I think the word you're looking for is like modern communities.
Yeah, modern communities especially.
Because now you have just chaos, really.
Well, even back then, there was this one guy who was a huge problem because he was rich and he just bought himself 30 accounts that did nothing but vote him into offices. And there was nothing anyone could do because
you mean like modern politics?
Yeah, okay, so in the game.
Okay.
In the game, if you have an account and you pay your sub and you mentor a newbie, someone lower level than you mentor them, and after a week you can finish the mentorship and they can say this mentor was crap or this mentor was good. If you do a good job, then you become a respected citizen. Once you're a respected citizen, you can vote. You can vote on, you can give people votes to enter an office like a guard or a demagogue or whatever. And this guy, he gave himself 30 votes every day. And it was completely legit. Like, there was nothing anyone could do about it because he wasn't breaking any rules.
Like the US voting system?
Yeah, and he terrorized the populace for years, like the president.
It's tyrannical and ingenious.
Yeah,
and a big waste of money
for that guy, but he was a complete dick.
You heard about that? I think everybody's heard this story about the what was it in EverQuest? Or not EverQuest? What's it?
EVE Online?
The space game. EVE Online. The dude who founded a giant bank and made the best user controlled bank in the game that was like.
And then at some point, a couple of years later, he just walked off with all the money.
Yeah, he just said no. Actually, what he did was, if I recall, he simply spent the money making the most powerful ship possible that no one could possibly compare to because he had all the money in the game, and then just said I've got half the bank's money and I'm not giving it up. Come and take it, and then just sat there and just blew it away.
Eve is such a marvelous train
And everyone's
wreck.
all going I spent real life money on this stuff that's in this dude's bank, and he's like, nope, bought a ship.
But there's no actual consequences in an MMO would imply that the player community can sentence a character to permanent death.
Right.
Like, they can sentence your character to be deleted. And I'm not sure I'm comfortable giving a player community that much power.
I do think that MMOs with permadeaths are a super exciting idea.
Yeah, but with the lag and stuff. I mean, only if it's
that's
a
true.
judging type permadeath. Otherwise, the lag will eventually get you, and that's just no way to go.
Yeah.
What if you have no, there's really no way to get around that because that's
No.
That's true.
And yeah, in terms of online play for permadeath, it has to be something like sort of turn-based or timed, something that gives the player a chance to react to it.
Well, if you're I envisioned this whole thing. So you have a living political system like that game I mentioned, and people can take office. Okay, so you also have a staff who is like a monarch. So it's like a constitutional monarchy. So you do have oversight from someone who's not an idiot. And say you have someone who murders people and repeatedly, then eventually the monarch could issue a warrant for this person's arrest. If they get arrested, they stand trial, and the monarch chooses the judges and jury of peers to sentence the murderer based on the evidence. And then people could think okay, I can kill this person, but I might lose my character, So it could work, and it could be very interesting, but I don't know if I trust people enough to do it.
I always have kind of an idealistic memory in my head about Star Wars Galaxies, like the old one. I had a thing where if somebody became a Jedi, which instantly made you 20 times more powerful than any other character.
Yeah, which was random.
Yeah. You also got permadeath slapped on you.
Ooh.
They did that?
Yeah. So
That's cool.
You became infinitely powerful, but if you died, you were dead for good. And instantly,
Oh,
I think killing you also would reward the person who killed you with a immense sum of money. So bounty hunters, immediately the game would just place a bounty on your head that any any bounty hunter wanted to kill. So you'd get constant people trying to kill you, but you know they would have to 20 people would have to get together, say we're going to kill this Jedi. We're all going to do it together because there's no way we can do it without all of us, and we're going to split the reward together or something like that. It'd be the only way to handle that. Or like
you could make it a voluntary thing where you can turn on PK, but you do it knowing that if you get sentenced, you can get sentenced to death. Mm-hmm. That might be interesting.
That reminds me.
And you've got an incentive, like you give them more power for it or something like that.
Yeah.
It reminds me sort of like the Juggernaut style game modes in Halo. Like you'd have one randomly chosen Juggernaut who has 200% health, hits like a truck, but it's technically free for all style, but everyone else teams up against a Juggernaut. You know, because the win condition for that Halo map was that you have to reach a certain time point as the Juggernaut in order to win.
Just randomly getting excited about game ideas now instead of like talking about game development. This is part of game development.
Yeah. It's fascinating, that kind of a culture, because you have the super powerful Jedi with a huge bounty on their head.
See, now I'm thinking again, I could do this in my MMO.
You've just got to, if you have a nice opt-in with a reason to opt in, then like you're
you could also have stuff like a town that is complete anarchy where people do just kill each other, and if someone becomes a murderer and there is a warrant for their arrest, they can leave the kingdom that they're in and go to the anarchy kingdom and just live there.
Where all the bounty hunters would be, it'd be like having that
Murder town.
Yeah, just murder town. But if you get killed there by another player, you just respawn.
Oh.
It's only if you get caught and sentenced in the kingdom where you committed the crimes that you get permanently killed.
Ooh.
That could be interesting. So you could exile yourself, or you could be sentenced to exile rather than being sentenced to death.
I would love to see...
Do you think that there needs to be this oversight for permanent death where only a staff-sanctioned thing can do this?
I would love to see the population statistics on like how many people inside Kingdom A do something horrible within the first, say, month of game release, right? And
well,
then
it's interesting because, like, if someone terrorizes your village and you kill them, then say I played a monarch, the monarch and the judge and your peers may actually rule in favor that you would do what you were doing was justified, and then you get away with it.
You could have a you need to have a judicial system that I think is because like what if you had your judicial system where like in the center of town there's always a vote box, and like anybody, if you can once a day go to the vote box, and if you vote on a trial, then you get paid or something.
No, but then it becomes the guy with the 30 counts again.
Yeah.
So you need to have like both a judge and a jury of peers, which is picked by the monarch, who's not a player. Now, I do think that the best system of governance for an MMO with actual permadeath consequences might be a constitutional monarchy.
Can we have
Think about
like
it.
instead of a prosecutor and a defense attorney, can we have champions that like kill each other?
No, there's no right of combat.
Aww.
We know for a fact inside of our computer that God is not going to pick the
Yeah, exactly. I am the god here.
Which I guess is but
Oh my god, now I want to do this in that MMO I'm making. That would be so cool.
Yeah, right. Combat, but then like you bless the person who's like, you're like, oh no, that person's right. You give them a ×5 on everything.
Yeah, just give
a buff. Yeah.
Like, you are now immortal. Enjoy.
You know, if you institute that, you're gonna have players role playing as, say, like Oberyn versus the Mountain, and they're gonna expect you like, please just bless Oberyn. Please.
They're all gonna be doing these big old prayers, like in areas where it's not as clear cut. You're gonna be like, she's got to pick one.
Like, please, just this one. Say go to hell to George R.R. Martin. But,
man, this could be so interesting. Then again, like if you get randomly PK'd while out on a road,
oh, that's
like, it's your word against theirs.
There's nothing to be done for that, but
it's like, well, how is a jury gonna sentence that person? There's no witnesses, there's nothing going on. Like, they probably have witnesses corroborating they didn't do it, so that's a bit of a problem.
I mean, there's another thing you could do is like where like if killing a person, like, you know, you can also kind of give good in-game lore reasons, right? But if committing murder permanently brands you as a murderer,
Murderer?
right? And then that means that other people who kill you don't get the brand for killing you, meaning that anybody who likes to play it safe.
Yeah, but then you get what you had in Ultima Online was Notos.
What's Notos?
Notoriety PKs. Okay, so in Ultima Online you had blues and reds. Reds were people who had murdered enough people that they became red, which signifies there's a murderer.
Yeah.
Then you have greys. Greys are people. Grey is what a blue becomes when a blue attacks another blue. So if I'm a non-murderer and I attack a non-murderer, I become grey, which means anyone I've committed an aggressive act and I am now open season. And what you would get is that it wasn't the blues against the reds, but it was people trying to goad someone into doing something so that they went grey and then everyone dogpiled on them. So you get that kind of mess of a situation. It's like goading people into killing you so that they become branded a murderer, you know? Which again, you know, might be justified. Maybe the jury will agree with you. But yeah, I do think it would be very messy to implement a system like that. I do think you would have to have a PK opt-in system where you now have the liberty to just randomly murder people, but you also face a potential death penalty.
Yeah. One thing I don't like so much is, like, a lot of PvP zones have no reason to be anything but a PvP zone, right? So if you have, like, you know, this is the zone where people kill each other, all you have is a dueling ground, right?
Yeah, there's nothing else there.
Because there is a great pleasure in being like a hunter of people who are there for other reasons, right? So like one of the nice things in RuneScape is the wilderness did have stuff in it that would cause somebody who didn't want to do PvP to go there, because they'd be like, oh, you know, like it takes so long to make this money here, but if I go here, this got a really good fishing spot in this place where people can kill me, right? So something you might want to do is go find a dude who's fishing and kill him, and that's great. So, but like the thing is also that's your choice, right? Like, did you want to go into the place where people can kill you to maybe get more money? Well, if you didn't want to have people trying to hunt you down for that, maybe you should stay in safe land, right? So there is kind of there's like various ways to opt into this kind of PvP world that is not necessary.
Yeah, but I don't think that I've never seen that system actually work out for the people who didn't want actual PvP. Like, either the resource that you get in PvP land is mandatory, in which case you're kind of screwing with the people who don't want to PvP,
But they could
or
just
it's
buy
not
it.
mandatory and then people will not go there.
But if they can just, what if they can just buy it though? Like if I'm someone who likes to collect stuff from the, you know, the killing zone, right? Everybody needs it, but like they can just buy it too. Then it's gonna have a really nice premium on it. That is whatever
but then the
player base as a
PvPers
whole.
who just roam around killing people will just pick up the thing while they're doing it.
Not if I'm good
So
at
they're
defending
having double
myself
fun.
and collecting.
Yeah, but like you're predicating this entire thing on people who are going there and potentially protecting themselves, or maybe not so well. But there's going to be the PvPers who go there, get the joy of killing people, and will also get the resources.
What if there was some system that somehow like encouraged people to hire a bodyguard as well for it?
This is getting very convoluted very fast.
Yeah, I guess
That's kind
true.
of the problem with these kinds of systems in an MMO,
Yeah.
because you're trying to have a very rigidly defined structure that works against people who will be trying to game it, and that's kind of always the issue there. That's why I think the constitutional monarchy is the only thing that could actually work, because you have actual people involved.
I think at this point we're sort of approaching real life. You're in terms of complexity and allowing players. And I guess
and nuance and stuff.
Yeah, in terms of, you know, an MMO with actual consequences, it's very effective in what you're setting it out to be. But we are approaching real life here.
Yeah.
And that's kind of spooky.
Yeah. Well, why do you think that? I say if the world was anarchy, people would be, you know, not so nice.
That's true.
Anyway, I think it's about time to wrap things up.
Yes. Last minute topics that either of you two would like to talk about: game jams, conventions, self-marketing.
Nothing I could get into quickly, I think.
Okay.
No.
In that event, let's open it up for some Q&A while I talk about I wanted to talk about a sort of it was mentioned earlier in terms of like YouTube baity type games, and I wanted to talk about the Five Nights at Fridays phenomenon that's happened.
Freddy's.
Five Nights at Freddy's, sorry.
Oh, I thought I'd missed something.
5 nights at TGI
I was like,
Fridays.
is there a new thing?
2 days at Ruby Tuesdays.
Okay, so yeah, continue about FNFA.
So Five Nights at Freddy's has sort of like there was a bit of a backlash, I guess, at the developer for like pushing out so many games within a short amount of time.
Oh yeah, that's total bullshit.
And he wrote a very, very, very clear response to it, basically saying like, "I'm living the dream. I'm achieving my successes. You know, why are you guys like ragging on me?"
Mm-hmm.
So have both of you two read his reply?
Yeah, it was very nice.
Yeah.
So
I have a lot of respect for that developer.
Same.
People are just jealous. And the guy worked at he worked a register at a supermarket or something.
Yeah.
Before FNAF.
Yep.
He was nobody. He had a family to support. He was probably struggling by the sound of it. I mean, he basically all but comes out and says that. And he was like, okay, I have this hit now. And by God, I'm gonna, people really want more of this. I'm gonna he probably worked like 60 days, 7 days a week, churning that stuff out, because
the sequels aren't bad. Like they're not.
No, they're not bad. It's not lazy.
It's the quick time isn't an evidence of him just quickly slapping a sticker on something. There's no way that he was
working
just working
himself
himself
to
to
death.
the bone. Yeah.
Yeah. This guy is working himself to death because he never got a break, and he suddenly has a break, and he's like, I'm gonna get as much as I can out of this as quickly as possible while I can, so I can support myself and my family. And you know, props to the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And he recently released Five Nights at Freddy's. My English is not working.
5 nights at TGI Fridays.
5, I think, or is it 4?
I don't know. I don't follow the series.
Okay.
Yeah. I like the dude, but I don't actually care that much about games.
But haters gonna hate.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
People are just jealous.
Do you remember Flappy Bird? I honestly, like, even before he posted his thing, I was all like, this is just a Flappy Bird situation where everybody sees some dude who does something and gets popular and, like, has arbitrarily
Like, he
decided
doesn't
this is not
deserve
good.
it, and it's like,
Yeah.
who the fuck are you to decide who does or does not deserve to get
Why
successful?
aren't these people who are so upset about, like, somebody getting money that they, like, are like, oh, they don't deserve it? But, like, they don't run out into the street getting, like, extremely pissed off about, like, CEOs, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's so many people who are making more money than they deserve that to target artists who are uncharacteristically popular is like the most absurd thing possible. If your aim is to call out people who don't deserve money, which you probably should also just stop that.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? But like,
Yeah,
if
you
it
should
aims
just
to
not do
celebrate,
that.
You should.
It's just, it's so sad.
I saw that and I was just like,
But
this
the
is like,
people who are hating on this guy are also not the people who dig the games.
Right.
So the people
Possibly,
who are
yeah.
actually doing good business for themselves because they're not hung up on what other people are doing they're doing fine. The fans are doing fine. This guy is doing fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's only the people who are sitting around being oh so angry that this guy is successful who are throwing a fit. So fuck him.
It's sad. It's so
It is
sad
sad.
to me.
I
Like,
also think they see it as something that could be popular to be angry at, because it's like they're like, oh, look how critical I am, look how high taste I am. I think that dude is stupid, which, come on, you know.
I hate this popular thing.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of things where people don't really treat creators like people. They just kind of treat them like objects, right? So they're like if they're gonna hate Five Nights at Freddy's for being popular, which just kind of upsets them because it's around in the same way people kind of get upset about Minions or whatever. Then like they also extend it to the person who made it, as opposed to kind of separating the two, which is not a fair equivalence to make.
Yeah.
Because it's a human being. If you send 1,000 emails telling them that they're awful, like they're gonna feel crappy about it.
Yeah, I have nothing good to say about the people who are hating on this guy. Just fucking haters. Just lame.
mm-hmm. I mean, I saw it and I read his reply and I was like, this guy he's basically doing everything right.
Yeah, he is.
You know, he hit on something big and he went forward with it and released a bunch more games and got even more
That's
fame.
also another thing. Like, I hate to always be the one ragging on the indie game dev community, but so many people are just doing random shit and not even thinking about it and expecting it to pan out, and then it doesn't. And it's like, no, if you want to be the FNAF guy, I mean, okay, the FNAF guy got lucky. I will admit that. But you don't have to be as lucky as the FNAF guy to be the FNAF guy, if you know what I mean. If you treat this as a business and you do your job right, you will be okay. And I think in the indie game dev community, a lot of people refuse to treat things as a business and they want to be the artiste. And they get annoyed when someone makes something popular because now it's not artistic and it's not nice. And I don't even know where I was going with this tangent. I just hate that segment of. It's not even the game developers. Like, most game developers are totally cool with this. I don't know which segment these haters are from, actually.
I was actually having a hard time trying to think of like who exactly are the people who. Honestly, I think it is mostly struggling creators.
Yeah.
But the problem is, a lot of these people who are like a lot of people who I saw really mad about Flappy Bird, for example, were like.
Well, I
what's
could
the
do
group of people
that.
who make apps for the first time and it's
Oh
bad?
yeah,
and they give up?
mobile stuff.
But like that kind of game dev, like they make like a tiny little thing, they try to copy some big corporate thing or whatever, and it
Yeah,
doesn't
and then
pan
they
out,
don't
and they get upset.
anything. Yeah.
And like I think they spend most of their time talking about how evil microtransactions are, which okay, microtransactions suck, right? But like, just come on, right? Like
This
there's
leads
better
right
stuff for you to
back
think about.
into don't believe everything everyone tells you, because maybe don't go into mobile because it's not actually a gold mine.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of people who are frustrated in that kind
Yeah.
of because they
Well,
also
there's
haven't
also a lot
seriously
of
taken-
people in the indie game dev community, and I hate even calling it a community because it's so wide and disparate, who are
There's a lot of
like,
those.
they don't want to treat this as a business. They want to be an artist and they want to do artistic things, and they think that means doing whatever the hell you want, and then whatever the hell you want isn't profitable and they get angry.
I think see, the thing is that I like the be an artist, kind of do whatever you want groups, but I feel like you do have to acknowledge yourself when you create something experimental.
That it
That
might not
you-
do well commercially.
Yeah, you are by doing that
Yeah.
taking a bigger risk, right?
It's kind of like the Tale of Tales game.
Hmm.
The Sunset. They made a very artsy game and then tried to appeal to the lowest common denominator by making it very pretty and control like a mainstream game. And it's like, well, people are not going to buy that because your design, your stated design for this game is to make it boring. You're doing housework. No matter how much money you drop on making it look nice, that's not what people want, so they won't buy it. So why are you betting your money on something which is clearly a poor business decision? And then they get angry and throw a tantrum and hope on Twitter that all gamers go die in a fire. Literally, almost. And then apparently they're coming back with a Kickstarter now. So that's rich.
Oh wait, I just remembered what you were talking about.
Yeah, the Tale of Tale guys. Tale of Tales.
What was the name of the game?
Sunset.
Oh yeah, I remember.
And people were like, "Oh, we so lament the fact that their voice is no longer in the industry." And I'm like, "Well, yes, their voice was valuable, and their games were valuable experiments, and I'm sad to see them go. But the way in which they went,
not
very classy, and they should have realized that you can't just drop money on graphics on an artsy experimental game and expect it to do commercially well."
If you're making a game like that targets, like, if you're saying like it's about the emotion of boredom or something, I didn't really know, I didn't know that much about actually the Tale of Tales. I just kind of gleaned a bit of it off Twitter. Like, you're definitely best off targeting the niche experimental audience as opposed to trying to place an experimental game in the hands of
the mainstream,
like everybody. This, like, for example, like I wouldn't. Like, I don't think I'd be able to sell Earthtongue to just kind of like most gamers, right? I don't think that it's a game that's enjoyable to most gamers because it's not based on excitement. It's based on like relaxation, right? So I target it to people who are passionate about ecology. I target it to people who are passionate about experimental games. I target it to people who are, interested in a game about relaxation.
Yeah, because that's your niche.
But I never in a million years would expect like a big group of just like, I guess I don't really know the best term for it, but like people who generally just want to play exciting games. And honestly, like,
hardcore gamers or something.
That's like, I love exciting games, right? Like, I'm making a freaking pixel platformy game next, right? That's going to be based on fun and excitement, but like that game is not.
Yeah, you need to know who your audience is.
Yeah, and I would never try to sell it to that group because I know that I'd be wasting my time.
And I'm making Midboss for also a niche audience, but it's more of a core gamer type niche audience. So I have put in effort to make it a smoother experience to draw more of the mainstream people in, which is why I hope it will do well. But I've also not broken the bank doing that because I don't know if it will work out. But I did specifically continue developing Midboss because I thought it was a game that would appeal to the core gaming audience, and not because it's exactly the game I wanted to make. I'm sorry if I break everyone's heart saying that, but this whole make whatever you like thing in indie gaming, like, there's this make whatever you like thing, and then there's you should totally quit your job and go full time, and those two things are not compatible.
Yeah. I think I kind of am in the make whatever you want school to see more like interesting personal projects, but I do think that like you're going to need to do other stuff for money.
Yeah,
well.
if you need to make money, you need to make the business decisions that will make money. And if you don't make those decisions, it's not the cause of the gaming audience. It's that you made a poor business decision. You have yourself to blame. That's what
I would have a hard time making a game that I didn't believe I was just making for myself and also selling. Like, I would just have a hard time getting behind it personally, which is why I also do like contract work, because
exactly,
it'll be at least a while before I'm self-sufficient off that sort of game.
And Tale of Tales was, as far as I know, they were getting by on like grants, on like art game grants, but they made this move to spend money they didn't have trying to make a more commercial game, but it was still an art game, if you know what I mean. And that's where I think they went wrong. And that's sad, but it's not the fault that gamers can't appreciate that game. It's just not. And if you're making art games, you just have to resign yourself to the fact that you're not going to be very commercially successful. You might be, but you're probably not going to be.
Okay, on that note, I'm going to start the wrap-up for the podcast. Do you two have any last things to say? Any last topics that you would like to discuss?
Yes, you should totally follow me on YouTube. YouTube.com/SharkHogSeneka.
We haven't gotten to that part yet.
Oh. Sorry.
Jumping the gun, Eniko. But yeah, any last bits of advice for people who want to get into game developing, or any people who are thinking about it, or any current game developers? Any advice or words of encouragement or critiques that either of you two would like to say to the audience?
Don't make it your job to make games unless you're willing to make it a business.
Okay.
What I would say to somebody who wants to get into game development, doesn't know where to start, is to just start and don't think about business yet. When you're ready to make it a business, think about a business, kind of probably some of the things Eniko said, but like if you're not at all in game making yet and you want to, your first step should be that you enjoy it and that you have things you want to do, so you should just start on anything, and if it's bad, that's okay. That's pretty much a rule for anything too. Like, you want to do art, do that too. Just start drawing.
Yeah, on the art thing, I have one thing to say. You should go Google Pixel Art Academy on Kickstarter. It's if you want to do pixel art, it's a project that will teach pixel art, and it's amazing. And you should give the guy who's doing it your money, because it's amazing. I gave my money.
LF3 Groups asks, where are good sources for networking, resource acquisition, music, art, etc.?
Twitter.
Twitter. Just make friends on Twitter. Be cool.
Yeah, just Twitter.
There's nothing that really compares to making friends on Twitter and like good relationships. There's nothing that compares to it.
Just follow a bunch of game devs and put that you're a game dev in your profile, and a bunch of them will follow you back, and then you can talk to them. It's going to be amazing.
Be genuine.
Yes, be genuine. Speaking of following people on Twitter.
Follow me on Twitter. Twitter.com/AnnieChan. My game is Midboss. It's midboss.net.
Right.
I also run a game studio at kitsunegames.com, and youtube.com/SharkHogSeneko. And I also have a Tumblr now, which is sharkhogseneko.tumblr.com.
Feel free to drop all the links down in chat. Eric, where are we going to find you?
Okay, cool. I guess there's I guess I'll drop my Twitter is Eric Hermit. It's visible currently on there. My you can buy my game on itch.io. If you are on Tumblr rather than Twitter, or you would just like to scroll through a feed of stuff I make without getting a million, I tweet a lot, like random stuff that has nothing to do with anything. I also have a art and a game dev blog.
Okay, and you can find me here at Twitch. I'm recently starting to upload some more stuff on YouTube. You can find me at my YouTube channel. All of the links are down below in the profile. Just it's all there. My Twitter as well. I think any other quips, remarks, replies, satires from YouTube?
Literally worse than Hitler. I don't know. I didn't say it this episode.
Oh, that's true. You normally say it like once every episode.
Yeah, I've failed in my duties. I apologize.
What would you say is literally worse than Hitler of this episode?
Spiders. I'm sorry, Eric.
It's freaking blasphemy.
I'm sorry. I just hate spiders.
That's all right.
Eric's like Spider Philistine.
I just want to hug him. Just want to hug a big one.
Isn't there a bunch of Eric? Feel free to drop like a bunch of gifts to the cute spiders.
I don't collect gifts to cute spiders. I just kind of
I just
kind of share them when I see them, right? But to sift through this stuff would be an enormous undertaking at this moment, so I wouldn't be able to get you one.
No, that's cool. All right. So
look up jumping spiders. They're good. Their name might sound scary, but they have really, really big eyes. They look cute. Even people who hate spiders tend to like them.
Literally worse than Hitler.
Just Google jumping spider. I think even you might think they're okay.
Okay, I'll do it right now.
Okay, we'll hear Eniko's reaction live.
Jumping spider. Aww.
There you go. See?
Okay, I can deal with that.
She
It's like,
concedes.
Who are you?
Yeah.
Okay, I can deal with that.
They're super cute.
This is
They have,
fine.
they have giant eyes because they need them to see because they jump. Otherwise, they would just fall off of everything.
Which would also be funny.
Yeah.
So Eniko concedes to cute jumping spiders.
Yeah, fine, you'll get this one.
It's like, you win this time, Eric. Okay, on that note, we will see you guys again next time for the next Game Dev podcast, which will happen whenever. Like,
Yeah.
I think Eniko and I are still trying to iron out a consistent schedule for it, right?
Yeah, and I have like Ultra Hat Dementia coming out, and I'm my YouTube channel and Mitballs, and I'm gonna be moving, and it's not good.
Okay, so as soon as Eniko's done with her move, then we'll be able to release more things consistently?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay.
Yes.
Alright, we'll see you guys again next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.